Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through eyes covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Tape my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel skinnier than all the other days. Sometimes I can't tell if my body belongs to me. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption, breathe faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud. It's music till the wick burns out. Be carefree lately, yeah. Just kicking up daisies. Got one too many quarters in my pockets. Count 'em like the four-leaf clovers in my locket. Untied laces, yeah. Just tripping on daydreams. Got dirty little lullabies playing on repeat. Might as well just ride around the nursery and count sheep.
And I think one more person will show up. But how many of you, and I have a feeling I'm talking to a group here that's been to many workshops. I mean, right? You've been to workshops and you have notes in your workbooks. Try this today. Don't write anything down unless you intend to use it.
That's a good argument. Yeah.
Right? So it's a little bit of a play on what I really want you to do is pay attention and think it through, but also go, okay, this is important and I intend to use it.
Intent.
Yes. Yeah.
Will.
Well, when I call you on the phone and say, tell me how you've used it, right? But that's the thing. I love people taking notes. I love inspiring people on the idea, but I'm really about the implementation of the idea.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. So you'll get a heavy dose of inspiration to implementation in my program, and there is a step to make it so that you can implement within 90 days. So we'll go there. But really, when you're taking your notes, think about it like, I'm writing this down because I think it's important and I want to do something with this. If you don't, this is entertainment. And I hope it is entertaining, right? That's not bad. We go to movies, we pay for entertainment. But this is serious. We have an opportunity to make a difference with the work we do today. So I'm also excited that it's a small group again. I thought the interaction that we had yesterday was more meaningful to each person than when I teach it to 500 and have to be very generic, right? So same rules apply. If you have questions, we're gonna kind of move around a little bit in our conversation. I really want you to get the nuances of it. I'm not gonna teach you how to be me. I'm gonna teach you how I think so you can apply it and be the best you. Because that's really what you will do, right? No matter how brilliant my ideas are, if it doesn't hit you, you'll be like, oh, that sounds smart, but I'm not gonna do it. What I want you to do is, that sounds like a good idea that I can do. And then next time you see me, you'll be like, hey, I did what you said and it works. That's like the highest form of compliment I can get as an instructor. I did what you said and it works, right? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a big question here. If you get this question right, you may unlock the whole day, okay? So let's see if you can do it. When I was young, why did I struggle to mow the grass? Okay, procrastination is a good one, not necessarily.
Because you didn't have the strength to push the lawnmower and you didn't have the knowledge on how.
So that's good. Let's assume I did. I'm not that big, but the lawnmower I had control over. That's a good one though.
It's not fun.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Oh, boy.
I mean, it's not fun, so why would you want to do it? It's not, I mean, I don't know how it would.
Okay, you're on the right track. You're super close.
Okay.
Like in that game, you're getting warmer.
Yeah.
You're really close, but there's a subtlety to it.
Does it please you?
It wasn't my task, it was somebody else's.
Yeah.
Well, it was Dad saying, son, mow the lawn today, right? So that's close too. It's almost you're super close now. Sam has an idea. I see it on Sam's face.
I didn't know what was in it for me.
Okay.
So I loved what it looked like when it was done, but I didn't really get one.
Mm-hmm. It's the trap of the exciting. Everything else was more exciting to me. I could do it, I was strong enough. Yes, I could procrastinate on it, but when Dad says mow the grass, there's not a big window there.
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't exciting to me. So when we're little, right, we want to be a pirate. I mean, you grow up and you're like, I want to go play and be adventurous and do exciting things. My friend rides his bike by and says, let's go play basketball, let's go play baseball, let's go do anything else. That was always more exciting to me than mowing the grass. my dad would come home and be like, I thought I told you to mow the grass. And I had every reason about, well, Kurt came by on his bike and then we met up with Darren and we did this and we did that. And it was a simple task. And I made it into this thing that I was avoiding. Now, the adult Bryan would mow the grass and then go play without my dad would be like, great, mow the grass and then go play your heart out, right? So I was backwards on my thinking. Now, we as photographers, right, if I say, today I want you to focus 4 hours on marketing. You'd be like, but I got some new lights in. There's like a posing guide that I need to practice. I mean, we would do everything else, but the marketing. So marketing is kind of like mowing the grass. We know we need to do it, but it's not exciting. But yes, we get a lot of satisfaction out of it after we do it. Right. So we, again, grow up as a pirate, or we watch movies about Indiana Jones, right? The Quest. Now, if you really look at that movie, I mean, boulders come at him. He falls in snake pits. There's always somebody shooting at him. But that's adventure. So we like adventure. So I try and think of all of this. The talk is called the Marketing Riddle, right? So solving the riddle is what I want to do today for you with marketing. And turn it into, I just had a big spit there. Did you see that? That would have landed right on you. Right, yeah. This is the safety zone here. So, you know, Laura Croft also, how many of you have seen Tomb Raider, the movie, right? When she has to jump from the wing of the plane as it's crashing, you know, I'm out.
I want to be like her.
See, well, you are her, right? But that's the thing is I also realize I like adventure, but now I like the adventure that I don't, you know, fall into a pit or those things. Risk reward, yeah. So I'm very strategic in my thinking. So again, we grow up with this idea of the exciting. Photographers don't grow up and think of themselves like marketers. However, I am a marketer first, a business owner first, who happens to be a photographer, right? And I honestly believe this. I could be dropped out of a plane, hopefully with a parachute, anywhere in the world and be okay, because I have skills to create a job. So I know sales, I know marketing, right? So put me in Rome, Paris, Des Moines, Iowa, I'm okay, right? And photography can be that gateway too. But I think the skill of a marketer, you can do anything. And that takes a lot of pressure off you, right? Everywhere is home, basically. So, you know, yes, that looks exciting, but, and, you know, getting bow and arrow shot at you, just not my cup of tea. So I think I have a pretty good gauge of the crowd. So I'm not gonna have us actually answer this, but I usually filter the talk through these things, you know, whether you're full-time, whether you're part-time. The part-time gig, I would almost fit into that now. So I make some of my income through judging, speaking, training, coaching, and photography, right? So I'm almost in the number 2 box. And then some people are, hey, I love photography, I just want to get better and maybe be able to sell some of my photography, or better yet, connect with the right people. And that's kind of how I think of marketing too. So filter your questions. You could say, hey, I want to know more about this when we get to, you know, a question time, based on the fact I am a full-time photographer, or how do I balance the fact I have more than one thing? Maybe I work a day job at the bank and I'm transitioning into becoming a photographer, or maybe, again, somebody says, hey, I'm fortunate, I don't need to earn income from this, but I know marketing is really an important skill to have. So this is my early marketing plan. This goes back, how many of you know Bruce Hudson, right? So as a second generation photographer, and I've been in this industry for 43 years, I've pretty much studied with everybody. My very first lighting class was with Dean Collins. How many know Dean Collins, right? Probably the very best, if not the best person to teach lighting. Brilliant mind, absolutely brilliant. My first sales class was with Charles Lewis, Chucky Lewis, right? So I have a lot of influence from some of the greats in the industry. So this is my old marketing calendar. And you know, it's great because it shows the bridal show. It shows when I'm going to do my newsletters and what the focus of them are. And so having a marketing calendar is fantastic. How many of you have a marketing calendar? There is a calendar I see in Sam's office, and I was happy it had, you know, Aaron and Bryan speaking. It was on there. Okay.
Sam doesn't write that on there.
Right. Yeah, I noticed the handwriting was way too nice. A marketing calendar is really, really important. And I give myself a lot of grace that I don't follow it exactly. But I do have a plan, right? We'll talk more about having a plan and why it's important. But just using kind of a baseline on probably all of us are somewhat similar. We lose focus fairly quick. So if you don't have a plan, you lose focus quicker. And this 90-day sprints. A lot of psychology shows that that's about as long as we can stay focused on a task before we will move off of that. So athletes train a lot to peak at the right time, right? You're a downhill skier, I can see that, right? Giant slalom. Thursday at noon, you're going for the gold medal. And the gold medal is going to be separated by 1/100th of a second. You want to be your very best that day, not a year later. That doesn't do anything for you. So we have to peak at the right times. When our clients are in seasons, like high school seniors, we need to peak at that time. So all of our marketing that we do peaks us at the time when it's important, right? So your calendar right now, oh, by the way, there's bright lights shining on me, so this is a great analogy. Right now I'm poking pretty hard at some of you, or it feels like I am. I've shown this flashlight on me as well, right? I've exposed this about me. I'm just kind of, this is amongst friends, this is like a group therapy session, right? Your calendar right now is a direct reflection of the work you did or didn't do 6 months ago.
I find mine runs about 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, so you're tight, a little tighter in your sequence. But think about that. Your current state is a direct reflection of the work you did or didn't do 3 to 6 months ago, right? There's this great, I get stuck on these Instagram reels. I don't know if you guys do that. And then I'm in this one loop and I can't get out, and it's just like punching me and punching me and punching me, and it's, don't be upset for the results you don't get for the work you didn't do. I'm just like,
Somebody should write that down.
I'm writing that down.
right? It's brilliant, yeah.
We're gonna live on that.
And it just hits me every time. And when it hits you at 3 o'clock in the morning because you can't sleep already, you're like, I'm just gonna get up and get some stuff done so I can go play golf. So I also am a big fan of carrots. So people will say, how do you play so much golf? It's like, because I am highly focused when I work. So I only work about 4 hours a day, right? 4 hours of highly focused work. Research has shown most people will fit because of traditional 8-hour day. They fit 4 hours of work into 8 hours. I just say I'd rather play 4 hours and work really hard for 4 hours, right? So having a calendar in some form. Yours doesn't have to look like this.
Mine's not torn.
Yeah, right? But having something in front of you to keep you more on task, because we're already gonna see shiny objects, except for Bob. He's highly focused, I can tell. But that's one of the keys.
But not focused.
Okay, right? By the end of the day, maybe we'll have organized and focused.
That would be awesome.
There you go. So here's some questions. Now, I know you believe in love, right? We all have these, romantic ideals of what it is to be a photographer, and every client thinks that we're rock stars, right? Oh, you're a photographer? It's like they think it's just the greatest thing in the world. It's like one of the hardest jobs to have, right? Because we also love the craft. So in some ways, I think we're blessed and cursed. But here's 3 questions for you. One is, do you believe in our industry? Now that might sound like, well, of course I do. That's why I'm studying it. But I think right now there's a lot of people that are like, I don't know anymore. Maybe the glory days are gone. Maybe it's easier for me to go do something else. Maybe I'm not cut out for it, right? So you have to believe in our industry. I ask myself this question all the time, not only because I'm in it, but I teach in it as well. And I really want to make sure that people say, yes, I believe in our industry, or I would say if you don't, go do something else, right? Just put yourself out of the misery, go do something else that frees you up to do the other things that you love to do. But you got to believe in the industry, because if you want to do it, it's super hard, but yet achievable. You will run into obstacles, but you'll be equipped to overcome them. That little cycle loop right there is exactly what you want. I want to do this. It is hard. I will run into obstacles. I have the skills to overcome it. If I tell you it's easy, just do these 3 things and life will sail through, you will hit an obstacle and you'll be like, Bryan lied to me. It's not easy. I quit. And if I tell you it's too hard and you don't have the skills to overcome it, you'll be like, why do I even start? This is too hard. So it is hard. You will run into obstacles. You do have the skills. You can overcome it. If you believe that loop, you'll be okay. So, got to believe in the industry. You have to believe in your skills. And if you don't right now, that's where you take more classes like this. I mean, so we were just talking before we started, you had Lindsay Adler here. So you guys are doing a great job. You've got Lindsay teaching some photography stuff. I'm teaching some marketing stuff. Aaron's going to be teaching some tech stuff, some newsletter stuff, some of the other things. You're getting the skills you need, but like we said, you have to apply them then, right? You have to take the notes and do the homework. So in college, right, for every hour of lecture, you had 3 hours of homework. For every hour that you shoot at a wedding, you have 3 hours of editing and selling and all the things, at least. Same thing here. So I'm going to be with you for 3 hours today. You're going to have notes. It's not like it's going to happen by magic. Now I'm going to give you some tools to make it, hopefully, be able to apply it quicker. But there is homework. And joking, not joking, maybe, when I call you, say, hey, Sam, out of the blue, hey, Sam, you said that you wanted to do this. How's it going? You'll be like, ah. So now I can see it. I can see it right now. You just went, I'm just not going to answer the phone when Bryan called. He flashed that look at me. He kind of gave me the little smirk like, yeah, you think I'm going to answer your phone calls. So you got to believe in your skills. And then this is the most important one. You have to believe in your grit. Are you gritty enough to survive this? So we've all heard this, right? So we're out hiking, right? Bear comes along. I start running. You say, we can't outrun the bear. And I say, I don't have to. I have to outrun you. And this is where I think my magic is I really think I'm grittier than most people. If you back me into a corner, I will basically figure my way out. I am super gritty. That's actually my superpower. Not my photography skills, not my speaking skills, not my sales skills, nothing. I just don't like to lose. I'm gritty. So you gotta have that. And if you don't, find somebody that does and partner up with them. because not all of us are all built the same way. But we need to leverage our strengths, but find somebody that is gritty, that when we think, I don't want to do marketing right now, I'm tired. I had a big shoot yesterday. I have so many phone calls to return. You're like, okay, let's stay on task. Let's have a plan. Let's figure this out. Partner with somebody, right? You guys have a partnership probably that helps when somebody is like trying to be off task. The other person magically brings them back around. And it's not just one person corralling the other, but most relationships have this good give and take. And it doesn't have to be a formal thing, but one of the strengths of an association is you have each other, right? And the industry actually does better when all of you do better. So find somebody in the industry that can be your grit when you need it, and the whole industry does better. So for me, I'm the most expensive photographer in town. And if I want to raise my prices, if I create too big of a gap, it's harder on me. So I teach everybody how to get right next to me. And because I'm gritty, that forces me to go up 3 more levels. So I train people to get as close to me as possible so I can keep going. And I never let them catch me. I teach them everything I know, and then I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to outwork them, right? By only working 4 hours a day. So that's how my brain kind of works, right? That's this right here sets the stage for a lot of the stuff we're going to learn later. Believe in the industry, believe in your skills, and be super gritty, okay? How many of you think that is fun? Okay, there are a few crazy ones in here. You're in a little chair attached to chains, spun around at speed, and it was set up by a teenager that travels around and there's no maintenance on it.
Which is perfect.
Okay, tells me everything I need to know about you.
You know, that's like driving.
So if we are in a sword fight, I'm going to say, go get him, Larry.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd be the guy.
Yeah, okay. There's always one. So this is not fun for me. It's scary. But as I think about it, what I do is I trick myself to make my work play. So I'm basically always playing, even though I'm working. So here's some examples. Whoops. Why did it do that? It should go. There would be a list here. For some reason, it's not showing it. Let's see if I tap on it, if it does it.
Yep.
So if we make our work feel, and I underline the word feel, it's not play, it's serious, but it feels like play, right? So I make everything into a game. And that, again, is a challenge for me. So if you create work that feels like play, and it's no different than playing golf or doing whatever your play is, that takes a lot of pressure off of you. Then it's not like, oh, I have to go to work today. It changes the mood of, I get to go problem solve today. I get to go tackle this challenge today. So here are some of the challenges. Crossword puzzles. People do that for fun. I think the second one down, scavenger hunts. How many of you have done a scavenger hunt? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be my example here because you were like, oh yeah.
I love scavenging.
So if I told you right now, I want you to go outside, you have 3 minutes, and I want you to be photographed with 3 people with 1 article of their clothing on. So maybe their glasses or a hat or a shirt. You'd be like, okay, 3 minutes, I got it. And then if I said, I want you to go to a chamber event and talk to people, some people would be like, well, I can't do that. I don't want to go to a networking event, or I want to just work on my craft. But scavenger hunts, for some reason, sound fun, right? And depending on how much alcohol there is involved beforehand, it's the same exact thing, right? Put yourself in a situation with a little unknown that you kind of know what you're doing, but it's like, okay, Here's the parameters of it. That is really marketing, by the way, a scavenger hunt. It's here's what I want. Here's what I kind of know I need. I have a time frame. We're going to challenge each other, right? There's a prize, which is called cash, right? That's what, so think of your clients out there. You're just on a scavenger hunt to go meet the right ones, right? And how we approach people on a scavenger hunt is very low key and unassuming. Hey, I'm on a scavenger hunt. Can I borrow your necklace? I have to get a picture taken. I need your necklace, right? You'd be like, sure. But when we think of it in a sales, in a business situation, we get a little too serious and people are like, I don't know yet.
We're asking them for money.
True, but they usually, if you approach people correctly with money, they will be like, yeah, that's actually, I want to give you money because that's what I want. So some of it later on, we will unpack the money thing. I'm glad you brought that up because if you help people get what they want, they will gladly give you what you want, which is the money. So that's basically Zig Ziglar right there, right? Treasure maps. How many of you think, okay, if I gave you a treasure map right now and I said, there's $5 million at the X on this map, and it's real, would you actually try and figure it out? $5 million of real money.
Well, my nature would be to be skeptical because I'm like, it's real, yeah, whatever. But here's like every other scammer that emails me. But if I definitely knew it was real, $5 million, yeah, I'd be all over that.
What would you do to try and find it? How much is five? I mean, okay, I can see it in your eyes. $10 million. $5 million just does not motivate you. $10 million. Would you spend some energy on that?
Yeah, well, I would spend energy on $5 million, but yes.
But 10, right? You'd spend more energy.
Yeah.
Okay. There really is a treasure map out there. And there's a lot of money out there. And all you have to do is figure out how to read the map and have the grit, and it's there. But because we make it into its business, we think, oh, there's too many things on it. But treasure maps would be like, okay. And then in the movies, like, people shoot arrows at you, you fall into pits, right? And they keep going. We run into obstacles and we quit or slow down, all those things. So what I'm obviously trying to do here metaphorically is encourage you to think that this is nothing more than a treasure map with a prize that is meaningful to you at the end, and that you will have to overcome a lot of things to get there, but it's real. It actually is real, right? The grit part is, and this is the thing that maybe you have permission to like go home. If your spouse says, wow, you seem to be a little quiet. It's like, hey, there's a treasure map, and there's like a big thing at the end of it. And I have to first realize if I'm gritty enough or not to get it. I just want some tea, some music, and I just need to sit with myself and make a decision, right? So Seth Godin, how many Seth Godin fans in here? Okay, this is maybe, I have a lot of Seth Godin. Seth Godin, you gave me a look like I don't know Seth Godin. Do you not know Seth?
I don't.
Okay, he will become one of your best friends. He writes a daily blog. I'll give you this one and another one later. Take 2 Post-it notes. Take as much time as you need. On one of them, write, I do exceptional work. And on the other one, write, I do mediocre work. Look at them, think about it, analyze them, make a decision which one is you, and then post it on your computer and live up to it every day. It's that simple. You have to first decide, because the easy out is I do mediocre work. I'm above average in most things. I'm not exceptional. Somebody else is better than me. It's a really hard one, right? And then what you know about me, it's like, I think you know what I would write, and I would underline it. right? And then all it is, okay, that's me. Then you identify with that person, and then you do the work that that person would do, right? So the grit part. Video games. How many video gamers in here? Okay, couple. Some people you're like, raise a high. So studying from a lot of really cool psychologists at Stanford. There's Kelly McGonigal is one person that I study with. Her twin sister, also PhD, she does the science basically of video games and how it influences us. And it made me start thinking, there was a video game that I used to play called Siphon Filter. Any Siphon Filter fans here? Okay. So the premise is I'm a secret agent, and of course I have all these levels to, win in the end. So the first level, it's pretty easy, bad guy, you shoot him, you get this treasure, you go to the next level. Well, increasingly it gets harder, and then it gets impossible. You walk around the corner, you're shot. You walk around the corner, you're shot. There's nothing you can do, you're shot. It's like, huh. But I'm gritty. I'm only halfway through this game. Then I realized I could see by just kind of barely peeking around the corner, you could almost kind of turn it. But if you poked your head out, you were shot. I could see where the guy was in the tower, and I couldn't get a shot on him. But then I saw at the base of the tower was a car. Okay. Next to the car was a gas can. Anybody see what the thing here is?
I see.
You shoot the gas can, it blows up the car, it blows up the tower, you walk around the corner. You don't have to shoot the guy, you have to shoot the gas can. So then that unlocked for me that sometimes you have an obstacle in your way and you think you have to go straight at it. You actually don't. Sometimes there's an easier way, less frictioned way to get where you want to go. And so it's using leverage, right? I mean, that's what the Romans did. They used leverage to build things. We sometimes work way too hard. We don't work smart enough. So that would be another homework assignment. If you are believing in the industry, you believe in your skills, you believe in your grit, but you're like, this is a lot of work. Ask yourself, how can I leverage my skills, my community, my network, so that I can work smarter and actually work easier? So that's how I typically try and flip things. Again, we're running from a bear. I believe most people see their goals as more effort. I see it as figure out how to work easier. They slow down, get tired, and quit, and I actually achieve it and play golf, right? So I want you to kind of see that loop and think, is there a way that I can leverage my network, ask the right questions to different people, get easier solutions to problems than tackling it with effort and work? And that's what these things are, right? So crossword puzzles, you're like, I can't get number 7 across or whatever it is. I'm going to go on, do these things, and then all of a sudden magically this appears. Or you could sit there and go, I cannot go to any other one until I do them in exact order. But nobody plays the game that way. But we typically think of business very linear. Obviously, I'm setting the stage for other stuff coming up here. I want you to get the idea of work, the idea of marketing, turn it into a game that you can play. And there is $10 million at the end of it. But most of us would be happy with 5. Now, I don't know the number of years that it would take you maybe to generate that. But the scary thing is if we look at our income over a course of 10 years, right, we make a lot of money. We just spend a lot of money too. So the idea that though the $5 million is there, right? Some of us, it might take 5 years, $1 million a year. Others, it might take 10 years, or it might take 20 years, but it's still there, right? So this is the little transition. I've been talking about, Kimmy and Kipper. So this is my little puppy, and He loves play. I basically need to be more like him. He loves to play. And the good news is he makes me play too, right? So I'm a big fan of taking breaks if I'm really focused. And we were talking about this in the car. If you're focused for a long period of time, you need to go defocus. Your brain will actually recover better than staying highly focused. So focus and defocusing, which I love the fact that it's kind of a photography mindset, right? So we control our focus. We can bring things into focus. We can bring other things out of focus. Well, we need to do that with our brain. And I'll go get some coffee, go out on the deck, get some sunlight, throw the ball with Kipper, go back to work, and I'm in a much better state of mind, right? And then Kim, she's a dietitian. That's her craft. But she is way more creative than I am. She can paint, take a picture of a single tree, and turn it into this amazing art piece. I tell her she needs to get her Master of Artist degree. She is so good. She's like, I just do this for fun. And I respect that a lot. I think she knows she can, and she'll do it when she wants to. But I love her creativity. I'm a tactician, right? I'm actually a marketer who's a small business owner that happens to be in a creative field, right? So the two of them basically are my inspiration. And Kim is fantastic from the standpoint that she lets me come out and be on the road so much, right? She knows how important it is that I talk to you. I come home rejuvenated, and she gets actually a better version of me than if she didn't let me out on the road, right? So I have to give her a lot of credit for how often she's like, now where are you going next, right? She can't keep up, but she's like, when you get back, let's do this, and I mean, it's never, you're gone an awful lot. She knows what lights me up. We'll talk a little bit about finding your flow too. She really is good at that. And she knows that this isn't her flow, right? So she'll go to Europe with me, but she won't come out on the road and do marketing classes with me. She'd rather be gardening. This is my dad and Frank Creekio. Now, do you guys know who Frank Creekio is? Right? So Frank Creekio, so not everybody does. Frank Creekio is one of those people that would classify as we aren't doing anything different. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? And so Frank was one of those people. I mentioned Dean Collins. There's a lot of them that I've been fortunate to partner up with. So, but this is my dad on the left and Frank on the right. And so I just love knowing too that I'm just basically a person in the lineage of passing this information on. And maybe someday, somebody will show a slide and it'll be like, me and somebody, teaching, and they'll be like, oh, 20 years ago I took a class with, Bryan, right? And that made a difference. Okay? So my dad and Frank. This was one of my very first wedding images. And so now you're going to kind of get a little idea of my style, right? We talked about style, creativity and style yesterday. I use creativity and style in my marketing. So you saw that picture of my dad and Frank Creekio. Well, I was a marketer. I wasn't a photographer. And in fact, I thought Dad had the skill and I didn't. So I had a limiting belief, right? I didn't have the grit at the time. So at the very first wedding, the bride was running late. No, that happens, right? All the time. So people ask me, well, how did you create this image? It would appear that it's a studio image, or, how did you light this? Really what it was is she came down the elevator, and next time you get out of an elevator when the doors open, you will feel just maybe a little bit of wind in your face. So the veil blew into her face, so she fluffed it. She got it off her face. Now, that doesn't take a lot of time. So you can't be worried about a lot of other things if you want to get the shot. You can get your camera up and take a frame. A frame. That's what it was. I could get my camera up and take a frame, take a frame, take a frame, right? So I learned about myself that I have a high bias towards action. If I see something, I react. So I created that. That was basically one of the first images that I took as a photographer. Next wedding, I heard a giggle behind me. So I'm photographing the bride and groom going up this staircase. I heard a giggle. I turned around. I took one frame, and then I went back to my subject. And I realized by seeing this that this was my subject because I was telling the story. And this is the image that created this concept here. All day long at a wedding, I'm looking to take one frame or one image that's so good that when I see it, I sit down and it kind of takes my breath away. And I don't feel like I have the skill to create that. It's like, did I make that? All day long, I just want one image that's so good that I can't even believe I took it. But I'm not good enough to only take one frame. So in pursuit of the great frame, I create the body of work. So I'm not there to take pictures of everything. All day long, I want one that's so good that it takes my breath away. And if it takes my breath away, my clients will love most everything I take. It takes a ton of pressure off me. I just need one. And I'm not good enough to just take one. So I'm going to do a body of work that I know they will love, right? You're just after one great image that's so good, so good. And they're going to love. It's their family, it's them, it's their day. Think about the reverse of that mindset. Like, oh, I've got to take all these great images and the pressure's on me. It's like, no, there's only pressure to take one great one. And your skill, because you believe in it, you'll get the rest, okay? So this was that moment for me when I flipped that switch, always in pursuit of one great frame. I also like kind of that dark, dramatic high school senior, you know, a little different, moody kind of feel. Your barista that has a good beard. This is storytelling. Oh, by the way, so this is Sugar and Spice. That's the title of that. This is Grace, and that did happen to be her first name. Got a little lucky there. So Grace, simple, elegant, matches the story. Sugar and Spice. Oh, why are we doing that? Okay, you're getting a sneak peek here. I'm going back. Okay, Young Romeo. Built to Last. The Showstopper. So, horsey people. Love horsey people. I'm going to talk later about finding a group of people to serve. No.
Sam.
She has horses. So
She's got asses, and horses.
so she,
When you say horsey people.
they have horses. They're horse.
People ride horses, Sam.
So she and her family are from Oregon, but she actually now lives in Louisville. I mean, that's where she would ride is. So she's serious, right? That group of people, ideal clients for me, right? So that's called the Showstopper. Radiant. And sometimes you're in a parking lot and there's a peacock walking around and you get up so close to it that when it moves, it kind of hits you with which you're super close. Now, does he look a little angry at me? I was afraid I was going to get pecked. So I got the shot and I laughed. But you get up super close, so that's radiant. This is a sunflower that's actually in the ground in the backyard at noon. So this was just like, how am I going to tell this story? So I have 3 pro photos lighting this. I have scrims, I have a mirror. I have high-speed sync, right? I'm using all my skills to get this shot called Closed for the Season. And it kind of looks like it turns into a little creature, right? Taking something, going, how am I gonna create something out of this? But this could be one of my favorite images that I want to tell you about. So Kimmy, like I mentioned, she's a dietitian. She works up at the hospital. So I'm having lunch with her, and I said, let's walk down this hallway. And she's like, Bryan, there's nothing down that hallway. Now that should be enough to say, you work here, you know there's nothing down that hallway. Let's go where you know the area better than I do, right? But there's those moments when you go, let's walk down this hallway. So I started walking down the hallway. We turned a few corners. She reiterated, there's nothing down this hallway. Turned one more corner, and there were 3 phones on the wall with no doors. I don't know, that's weird. 3 rotary phones with no doors.
What kind of institution are we at?
Right, yeah, where are we now?
Yeah.
And there's a mental health, I didn't think of that until you just brought, yeah, maybe we were getting close to the mental health section, but it struck me as different. It struck me as odd. So I took a picture of the hallway with the 3 phones and no doors. Now nothing moved, but because I wanted to make sure I got the shot, I took one more. At that moment, somebody walked past me, and I said, in my brain, not out loud, I'll just clone him out. I'll just crop him out, right? I can do that, crop him out. But I looked at it, and I saw leading lines, but I instantly saw a story. The story is, and the title is, Seeking Higher Truth. So you don't get your answers from the phones, and eventually you have to walk into the light. You're seeking higher truth, right? And it's super imperfect, right? It's not perfect. It's like listening to, in my way of feeling about this image, it's like listening to vinyl, right? So I inherited all my parents' albums. So I have, all of Simon and Garfunkel. When I said, they did a pretty good job, I have that on vinyl. And it's scratchy and a little gritty. And I like it much better than when I hear it on the radio. So I like things that aren't perfect. I like things that are gritty and storytelling, right? So you learned yesterday, I'm all in on the right side. I do want you to have technical excellence, but I also want you to not feel like it has to be perfect. Because perfect stops us. Same thing with our marketing, right? Drawing it back in. I want it to be a little gritty and a little messy and a little different, because that's who we are. So if you can create images that kind of match your personality, that's, I think, so this is my competition images, or I think my photography is an expression, a creative expression on kind of how I think, and how I think is how I market. And then we have the advantage over most business people, we are creative. So I find a lot of creatives are actually really weak at coming up with creativity outside of the craft. They look for, just tell me what to do. I don't want to have to be creative. And I'm like, but we have this superpower, we have this skill. Why don't we sprinkle it on everything that we do? It's a lot easier, in my opinion. Just be me all the time, right? So I'm a small business owner who happens to be a photographer. Being a photographer gives me this creative outlet that then I can be more creative in being a small business owner. It's this nice little dance that I do, right? So seeking higher truth, right? So those are some insights into not only the images I create. I mean, this is a photography group, so if I don't show any images, that would be boring. But if you also now look at my work, I think you know more about how I think, right? So sugar and spice, one great image, right? The veil fluffs. I have to be so good I can react. Something I see, I can do. If I wait too long, that moment's gone. High bias towards action, right? And then just every once in a while going, you know what, I think there's something down here. No, there's nothing down there. There's something down here. So there's a lot of times where you will be the person saying, I should probably call those clients. No, they're probably not going to say yes. I'm not going to call them. Instead, it's like, I don't know, something tells me I should call them. And I'm even bold enough to say, hey, it's been a while. You popped into my head. How are you? I don't know necessarily why I'm calling. I just felt like I needed to call. Well, you know what? We've been meaning to call you. It's amazing how that works, right? And then you have a conversation, they come in and do portraits. I mean, life is kind of that, in my opinion. 4 stages of consciousness. Now, I joke that this isn't a psychology class. I made that, right? We will get to tactical stuff, but this is, I think, really important. So before we do that, though, let's take a 5-minute break, because I see people standing up. Well, let's jig around a little bit. And I'll ask also, what did you learn about yourself, maybe in that first section, that you knew, but now you know better? Anything?
I should ignore what I learned from Lindsay and get back to work.
Using what you learned from her.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I'm a big fan of never forgetting anything and just figuring out great ways to apply it. I'm never going to be Lindsay. I know that. I mean, I think I'm a good photographer. She's a much better photographer, but I like how she thinks. So I leverage her thinking, and then I use it to be me. And I think that's where it's really fun too. I'm fortunate because I might be at 20 conventions a year, which means I get to go sit in on 20 conventions a year. So I learn a lot. I read a lot. And then I take all of it and I say, now, how do I make it still me, right? How do I apply it? Because otherwise, there's just too much stuff in my head. So yeah, take what you learned from Lindsay, take what you learned, from me, from Aaron, from the next class, and then be 100% Alan. And then that's fun, right? Any other insights that you kind of had from that first little section?
Your skills thing, you talk a lot about skills, and I'm a huge guy about building your portfolio. And building your portfolio builds your skills.
Right.
And I don't care how you slice that. The more you're just exactly like you, go down this hallway and take a photo, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Here's the skill set. And as a wedding photographer, again, you have that split second, just like your elevator picture. I look for that all day long.
Yeah.
I'm saying I can talk to you if you're looking this way.
Yeah.
Because you have to. There'll be something behind you that the bride or the groom or the best, and it's a reaction. And I'm getting old enough. These faster, newer cameras with the autofocus and stuff.
Eye detect, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, lifesaver.
Right.
But I do that all the time. But the skill set, again, that builds your portfolio, I can't emphasize it enough in my work. I learned grabbing a model, going out, and doing crap. And I apply that back at the wedding session.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a tangible byproduct of this that you'll use later on.
Right.
You've seen the movies where like the guy on the horse is out in the desert and he needs water and he gets the stick and it finds the well. My camera is that. I had one lens, 170 to 200. I have a different one now. That thing was a witching stick. It would just pull me in directions, right? So I think of my camera that way. I basically kind of joke like, okay, find the moments. And if you dropped me out of a plane and I was in a foxhole and it was dark and people were coming at me, you would want to be able to take your gun apart and put it back together if it jammed. I can change the settings on my camera while having a conversation with the client, right? You see too many people, after every image, they're stuck here and they've stopped being out here. And you only get that through practice. Right. And being in that moment and being able to have a conversation, change things up, and then react, have a high bias towards action. That's a learned skill. Some of us have it more than others, but you really learn that skill. So I put myself in those kind of situations. Same thing with golf, right? If you only practice on a flat lie, the only thing you'll be good at is hitting from a flat lie. So you want to put yourself in the worst situation, get good at getting out of that, and then the easy situations are easier, right? So I kind of use, again, that's how I practice golf. That's really a good metaphor for probably practicing everything. It's like, yeah, go at the worst time of day. As a wedding photographer, worst time of day with constraints. I don't know if I talk a lot about constraints. I'll talk about obstacles here. Constraints are a beautiful thing. I'll just give you one constraint example. If I say, describe yourself in 5 words or less, and you have 2 minutes to do it. At first, you'll be like, oh, this is hard. But you'll actually be able to do it. However, if I said, describe yourself, you have 2 minutes, that would be harder. Because you'd be trying to figure out, well, I can't write all this down. And you'd be like, I don't have enough time. And you would actually not know, do you want me to describe myself, this way, this way, this way? And you would spend 2 minutes thinking about doing it. But if I said in 5 words or less, it would focus you. You would actually be able to do it. So having constraints, time, money, energy, whatever the thing is, can actually focus you to do more. So I'm a big fan of constraints. So she's going to do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try and quiet the door a little.
We're just gonna prop it open. We have it specifically creaky like that for the escape.
Oh,
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, funny.
The entrance one is the same way.
That's hilarious.
I had it wound too tight.
Yeah. So here's a fun thing. It's called the 4 stages of consciousness. Do you know
I'm
that?
laughing because, yeah, and I was yesterday when you were talking about PPA language,
Right.
I immediately was gonna bring this up, that you're, yeah.
So this
You
is,
are unconsciously confident.
right. Yes. So this is a beautiful thing. Ignorance is bliss. I don't know what I don't know. That's a pretty safe place. That's being unconsciously incompetent. I don't know what I don't know. But then there are times when somebody tells you something you don't know. Now you are consciously incompetent. That's a horrible place to be. I now know I need to know this, and I don't know this, right? That's where a lot of us, you will always be cycling through this in a lot of different areas, but anything new that you didn't know, that now you know you don't know, uncomfortable. And if I leave you in box number 2 there, I'm a bad person. So my goal is at least to get you into the 3rd box where you're consciously competent. You can do it with some thought, right? And then your own work will move you. I don't have enough time in this class to move you all the way into the 4th state of unconsciously competent. You have to get there with your grit, your skills, and your belief. So you can do it really without thinking, right? That you can see impact, creativity and style, storytelling, subject matter, composition, center of interest, technical excellence, color, lighting, presentation, and technique, right? Every time you take an image and press the shutter, you should see, I need to have impact. Composition that leads to the center of interest. Storytelling based on the subject matter. my creativity and style, and I've got technical excellence handled. Every time you press the shutter, you are now unconsciously competent. Okay? We're always in this cycle. The good news is, just because you're in the, now I have been shown something and I don't know how to do it, I'm just going to work through the process and I'll eventually get to where I'm good at it. Then the key is to find something else you don't know until you work yourself through it. And that's basically what I do all the time, right? Hey, I didn't know this. I was having trouble with my gels not giving me the true color on the background until Lindsay said, well, just apply it to a dry surface. So she taught me that the key light contaminates the background if there's spill of water or spill of light on that background. When I apply the color to it, that wetness or that contamination is going to dilute my color. Apply your gels to a dry surface and you'll get true color. So then, and I know how to feather a light or grit a light or do whatever I need to make that surface dry, move my subject further away from the background. I know those things. I just didn't know that one missing piece. And as soon as she told me, I became unconsciously competent in it. I can do it without thinking now, right? And so it's like, that's how we learn. I think this is just like, I don't have any tattoos and I want one. I have tattoo envy. This would be kind of a bold thing to tattoo, like right here, right? It would be kind of cool. It'd be a good little conversation starter. The 4 stages of consciousness on your arm, and then it's just like this reminder, right? So I embrace this like wholeheartedly. Yeah. You obviously know this. How has it influenced you in your?
I feel like, didn't we talk, Sam, have I talked about this with you?
I think I can't remember.
He blocked it out.
So, I mean, so I always use the analogy when I'm explaining this, learning to drive a car.
Yes.
When you're a kid, you have no idea what you don't know. Like,
Right.
your mom just drives, right? And then you start learning and you're like, holy crap, I have to shift and I have to clutch and I have to, whoa, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Showing my age. Whoa.
Right.
Whoa. But yeah, so I mean, it is always in my brain. I have told many people about it. I love it. But yeah, it is.
You said it to me.
Okay, I knew it was
You
but,
said, you said this to me, yeah.
but I think it gives you permission to not know.
Yes. Right.
Because you know, okay, I'm gonna work my way around it.
Yep.
And it's okay that I'm in this place.
Yeah, I think the key is not staying in that place.
Right.
Because it's uncomfortable. That knowing that you don't know how to do something is just, I don't know, I don't like it. And even though it's hard, so I'm going to give you a little golf analogy. It's like if you have trouble hitting a certain shot, and every time you're on the golf course and you're faced with 60 yards, I'm in between clubs, and I scull it, and then the whole round goes and you're upset with yourself. After the round, go. Okay, 60 yards and in, I'm gonna figure out how to do this, right? Because everything hinges on like, right, the next time I go play, I'm gonna be faced with that again. I know it, right? So tackle it. I don't know how to do it. I might need to get an instructor. So, I mean, when I get back, I have golf lessons already lined up on my calendar, right? So I have trusted guides also that know exactly, hey, Brian, you're set up. You're just getting your weight a little bit off. You're just a little out of kilter right now. Let's get you reset. Oh, all of a sudden, I'm back on track. Having a trusted person, whether it's, collectively, small but mighty group, we actually have a lot of power in our industry right now here. We probably have all the skill sets we need to do anything we want to do. Each of us may not have it, but collectively right here, we have a lot of skill. We can get each other out of all these boxes pretty fast. So that's kind of cool.
Actually, I live by this, I work this, but I didn't realize there was
a method to it.
a method to it.
Right. So instinctively you found that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because it's like, I learned a long time ago, like programs, like software, there's all sorts of different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
You're gonna get better at it. And
Right.
then you can become very proficient.
So you have grit.
Oh,
And then you can
very.
remind, because I do the same thing, like, you have to learn something new, and you're like, okay, well, I learned whatever,
Mhm.
I got through it, I can do this too.
Yes.
It's just, I have to buckle down for a day,
So-
or whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
But there's a learning curve to everything in life.
Yeah.
So,
You'd be surprised how many people think that if they're not instantly good at it, they'll never be able to figure it out.
I know plenty of people are like, oh, the software updated, I don't want to learn it.
So how many of you have,
Aren't we all, I'm always in a incompetent, conscious state. Because I find something, I go learn that, but along the way,
oh, yeah.
learning that, here's something else, ooh, I should know that now also.
Yeah, I mean, there's discovery in any pursuit. There's always new discovery.
And there's so much stuff out there now to discover, it's, for me, that's a constant.
Yeah, so you're actually alluding to something. There is a fifth loop in this that isn't traditionally discussed. And that is figuring out, right, leave it to you, right? Now, why you're unconsciously competent, why is that? And then how can you apply that to everything else? And so I came up with the term blueprinting. So I blueprint something, I figure out a skill, and then I sprinkle it on everything else. And instantly those things I don't know become better, right? So how many Marcus Buckingham fans do we have in here, right? So Marcus Buckingham talks about, and it's coming up, but kids are notorious for going, I don't like this subject, so they don't want to figure out that subject. If we asked them why they like history, it might actually make them better at math, right? That's revolutionary thinking. Instead of just saying, you need math. Math is going to be important in your life. Do more math homework. Tell me about history. What do you like about history? Oh, find the keys that light them up there and figure out a way to attach that to math. And they'll go, I never knew math could be this cool. Huh. It's no different than history. I think I like this. We need to do that in our businesses. And then it's like, this marketing thing is kind of cool because there's 5 million, 10, there's actually 10, but there's $10 million there. There's whatever I want to be there. If I want to travel to Europe every year, I know that's going to cost each of us, Kim and I, it's going to cost about $10,000. And I'm going to teach you my idea of the 10K. So I learned this. Pat Beltrami was a photographer up in Vermont. And I said to him one time, oh, I really want to go to Italy. And he used to lead tours there. And he said, well, when are you going? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, you'll never go.
Ouch. He's right.
It's just like
Yeah.
marketing. Don't put it on the calendar and let it happen.
Right. And it struck me. I almost was like, how dare you? How dare you? And then I'm like, oh, I get what he's told me. Right? So yeah, get really good at this. Some of you are instinctively good at it. Some of you maybe were unconsciously incompetent on this. You didn't know this until you now know it. And I'm going to share with you how to work through this. But just realize this is an ever-going process. Yeah?
I think there's also a skill, especially for educators, coaches, but I mean, all of us have been asked to help somebody learn photography, right? There's a skill in going from unconscious competence back to conscious competence. Because to be able to explain something,
True.
you have to take a step back, right? And that's a skill in itself. Because it's very often hard to, you go, I don't know, I just do it.
Right. Yeah, unpacking how you do what you do, finding your own genius. I mean, that's another thing. We have a lot of skills that we can't even understand. So that's kind of that fifth loop almost, is understanding what makes you unique, and where, again, we say, well, we just know. Well, there's more to it, right?
I think Larry hit on that. It comes with just lots of practice.
Lots of practice,
You
and
practice a lot and it just starts to become second nature.
here's a big word too. curiosity. Always being curious. I think I'm geared that way too. It's like, huh. And I'm competitive. I mean, I can feel it. Do you feel your competitiveness? I mean, can you actually feel it? So I felt it before I'm about ready to say this is, I have this quote on my phone that says, everything you want has already been done by somebody not as smart as you. I'm like, ugh, they're actually doing what I want. And I think as a creative, I have all the skills in the world. They're just doing it. And so it motivates me. It's like, okay, I can figure this out too, right? So I love this. Maybe that is the tattoo. I don't know.
I'm seriously considering it.
See, so I should go get one before you get it.
Yeah.
And then we could like
So the question, Ryan,
win.
when are you doing it?
Yeah, I know, see? If you don't know, you're not going to do it.
I was
Yeah.
trying to look up more like not cartoony, but more,
Prettier.
Whimsical?
not whimsical, more,
Graphically appealing.
more create graphically,
Yeah.
like not just square boxes, but some
I
sort
believe
of
it.
like, yeah.
More creative.
Actually, I got a man.
Yeah, you
She'll
got
just drop
that.
it.
Right.
Yeah, you need to work on that. She already is, I'm sure.
She's sketching it. Right?
Well,
So earlier I talked about this kind of sweet spot of if you want to do it and it's hard, yet there will be obstacles, but you believe you can overcome those obstacles. That's the sweet spot. Because if it's hard, too hard, you won't do it. And if it's easy, you will run into obstacles. And you'll be like, this isn't as easy as I thought. I guess it's not for me. I guess I don't have that skill. You'll stop. So I embrace obstacles. Again, this is a little counterintuitive thinking. It's piggybacking on, I know there will be obstacles, therefore it's a game and it's play. It's going to be hard, but I'm smart and I can figure it out. I have grit. And I also know most of my competition won't figure it out. But I actually want to go to another level, so I have to help them figure it out, which pushes me to another level, right? That's this little loop here, right? So marketing, most people, it's not what lights them up. It's hard, and there's a lot of unknowns. There's obstacles. So here's a question for you. What makes marketing difficult for you? What's the obstacle? Now, I just have 3 primer examples here, but I'd love to hear more. What is your obstacle to marketing? Any of you want to? Yeah.
So I've kind of always said I hate marketing. I'm not good at marketing, and had a very sort of negative like marketing.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I've realized this doesn't change my behavior. Shut up, Tim. But it's because I don't understand it and I don't know it. So it's probably lack of clarity and how to
Yeah.
all of.
Yeah. A lot of people.
I'm typing, I can
Okay.
track Excel spreadsheet, anything. Like
Okay.
That's not. It's the making it fun and understanding.
Yeah, even having an understanding, it's like, okay, I'm creative. I can see 10 paths, right? Okay, I think I get it, that. Who else wants to, Bob, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, so this year for me it's been physical.
True.
I had emergency surgery.
Mm-hmm.
That's left me in a wheelchair up until about a month ago. So
Yeah.
um,
So, do I have permission to go a little deeper on this?
absolutely.
How did you get through that?
So my vibe, my jive, my thing is in-person networking. I love it. It's my favorite thing on the planet.
Mhm.
I love to touch people, meet people, talk to people.
Right.
Absent the ability to do that on an almost daily basis, it's become email, social media,
Sure.
texting, just continuing to.
But even deeper, so those are tactics.
Yeah.
Even deeper, how did you weather that storm?
I don't know.
Okay. So, how I would have kind of maybe with more time got us to, is you had a nice combination of things. You had a network and support around you that could take the pressure off of you so that you could recover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You know, a lot of people don't have that. Think of the pressure they're under to still have to do the thing without the support. So I talk about rainy days, and I'm an Oregonian, of course, right? I mean, how easy, that's an easy little metaphor there. Rainy days are one thing. 2.5-year pandemics are another. But it's really just an extended rainy day. So, and hopefully all of you weathered the pandemic fairly well. I actually thrived in it, but I had the capacity to reset expectations because I had a great network. I had enough savings and things in place where it was like, you know what? It's just going to rain a lot for a while. I'm going to have to adapt, but I'm okay. I saw too many of my colleagues that were thinking life was going to stay exactly like it was, and then it changed, and it crushed them. So when people talk about pricing, I mean, this is how I think of pricing. The reason I need to be extremely profitable is because it will rain. And I have then things in place so I can weather the storm. And so we don't know when we're going to have a medical situation. I just know too many people who have had medical situations. You have to be able to slow down and recover to get through them. So you have to anticipate that you will have them and have the things in place so when it does happen, not if, when it does happen, you can recover, right? Obstacles. Having that network, super important. What are some other, yeah?
So definitely lack of clarity for me in how to use it. I hate marketing. Well, I hate it because I don't know.
Sure.
I don't understand.
Right.
I know I'm not good at it, and I don't have the confidence to try to get better at it because I don't know how to.
Right.
Like where to go. You know?
Right. So the fun thing for you is the good stuff that's going to unlock that is just around the corner here in my program, right? Right? Yeah.
Mine is more budgeting of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know the basics, I've taken tons of classes on it, but then it's always like, oh, but this client's work has to be done. And
Perfect.
Like, it's really a budgeting thing.
Good.
I've got my husband constantly telling me, you just got to put it in your calendar to do it, but something always comes up. But no, I got to get this invoice out, or
Sweet.
Whatever it is.
Good, because that's also coming up.
First.
Yeah, so the clarity, focus, the tactics, those are all coming up. So
Shiny objects.
shiny objects, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are just geared towards, like my Jack Russell. If anything changes, things I can't see, I'm like, so we talk to him as if he's a human.
Totally.
Does anybody else do that with their pets, right?
To every single one of them.
Right, I'm like, Kip, there's nothing going on in the backyard. He's like, no, Dad, there is. And I need to go explore it and save us from it. And I'm like, Kip, there's nothing out there. It's like a leaf fell from the tree. But it could be an attack, right? He sees everything.
Yeah.
He's just hyper aware. So yes, squirrel, shiny object.
Blade of grass.
Right, yeah.
So a little bit different, like you, I'm trying to get out of the wedding business.
Uh-huh.
Because, to be quite honest, I mean, it's a bunch of work. I mean, like a huge amount of work, especially after the wedding, and then having to deal with you didn't do this, you didn't do that type of thing, even though we've covered it in the pre.
Sure.
So my deal basically is number 2, the application, how to use it to change what I've
Yes.
been doing to what I want to do. So
Yeah, so write this down. 70, 20, 10. Has anybody else heard this combination?
I have, but I can't remember what it was.
Could have been in one of my classes.
But, it may be.
So 70, 20, 10 is Google.
It's
it's Google. Google came up with it. 70% is your core business. 20% is an adjacent business, and 10% is exploratory business. And you never know when the 10% will become your 70%. If you don't have a 10%, when the 70% dries up, you're in trouble.
Sorry, can you say that again? 70% is core.
Core, 20% is adjacent, and 10% is exploratory.
I'm writing it down.
So one of the things that is interesting about me is early on, I would have been a wedding photographer, right? Then I started having the thing, this is a lot of work, and I'm tired. I don't want to do anything on Sunday, and Monday I'm kind of still useless. So I realized it's 3 days worth of activity, and then I have a bunch of work, and I started running profit analysis on it, and it was my least profitable time per hour. But I didn't like headshots. That wasn't creative enough for me. But when I did the same analysis, it was the most profitable per hour. Fast forward today, I specialize in environmental business portraits, right? So that 10% became my 70%. The 20% is when I'm talking to the CEO or the people I'm doing headshots for or environmental business portraits, I learned they have a family and a high school senior and a horse. And I'm good at then talking to them about that. Hey, we should do some images with your son or daughter and the horse, and let's do this, and oh, you have a plane, fantastic, let's do that. And I pull that string, and all of the other business comes from that 70%. So families and high school seniors, that's the adjacent business, right? Now my speaking is my 10%, but there will be a day, and this is me being transparent, so who I study with, Phil M. Jones, that wrote the book Exactly What to Say, he gets paid $35,000 a keynote, okay? I'm working towards working with him and his agency, so when somebody can't afford him at 35, but they can't afford me at 15, I'll go out and do the talk. So my 10% may one day be my 70%. When I write my book, that might be my 70%, right? I will always be a photographer, so that will always at least be that 20%, but my 10% might be my 70%. But I always have that 70, 20, 10 loop going on. And it can stay in the industry, you know, weddings, families, headshots, and just realize that you have the ability to flip those at any time. You're in control of it. And where I'm going with that is that's the marketing, right? Then you can market and position yourself to be that. That's powerful right there. Another little weird thing, and I think this is me drinking my own Kool-Aid here. I don't like for things to feel like outside my control. So because I have that, I'm like, the industry can't do anything to me. The economy can't do anything to me. Nobody else's decisions can do anything to me. Because I've always got a plan, and I have things in place. I just have to shift them around that work for me. Because it will rain, I know that. Somebody's gonna wanna make a decision that's gonna impact me, and I'm like, nice try. I have a plan. So that 70, 20, 10, I think it's like, again, super powerful and just gives you the ability to be like, you know what? Pandemic, everything shuts down for venues and weddings. That was hard. So then saying, what's that 20 and 10%? How can I maybe ramp up that 10 to get it to 45%? Takes the pressure off here. I'm doing a little bit, right? I might ramp it back up. It's Jeffrey Shaw, who is a photographer, but he's now a business coach. He talks about levers. And you just can push the levers up however you want them, and you have control of bringing them up and down. Takes a lot of pressure off if you're in control of the levers, right? So there are obstacles. We've kind of identified them. We'll talk now about some of them, and especially even at the end, the ways to make it so that you can have the clarity and focus and have the how can I work less but better, which is code for Essentialism, my favorite book. If you haven't read Essentialism, not only get the book, read it this week. Yes. And then read it again. I've at least read it physically 5 times. Going to Safeway, I might just put it on and listen to chapter 7. Right? Sometimes when I fly, I just listen to that book. It's that good. I have a whiteboard that has every chapter post-it noted out that I walk by every day. Essentialism, do better with less. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. No coincidence, he's also from Stanford. Obstacles. Again, here's the treasure map. There are lots of obstacles there, right? Now this is just a graphic, right? But you know, there's all kinds of things that would stop us, like sea serpents and scary things, right? So I want you to get in a really good habit of going, yes, marketing is kind of scary. It's unknown. I don't really know it that well. I'm not a professional marketer, but you are a professional creative, right? So, you know, figuring it out. But yeah, at the end, there's a little treasure, the little box there with all the gold in it, right? It's there. It's real, right? So sometimes you have to overcome obstacles by finding your sunshine. So this is, I'm borrowing heavily from Marcus Buckingham here. So this would be another homework exercise. Get a piece of paper. Now, the longer you do this, the more you'll know about yourself. But split the piece of paper in half, write, lights me up and drains me. Every task that you do in a day, put it in one of those 2 boxes or categories or lists. Returning phone calls Monday morning from clients. Does that light you up or drain you? Put it in a box. Don't give yourself any, oh, I should like this and I don't, or whatever. Just put it in the box. Returning emails, put it in one of those 2 boxes. Editing the images from the weekend's photo shoots. Backing up the images to the hard drive, offsite, your whole backup system, right? So how many of you make a copy onto some kind of server that is redundant? How many of you also have an offsite?
Does cloud count as offsite?
Cloud counts. Okay, good. Because you've all heard this, right? That if you back it up in the same place, it's really not, right? If the place burns down, both backups burn down. So you have to have another location, right? And then I kind of go, if both those locations burn down at the same time, we have bigger problems, right? Right? There's other things at play.
The universe is against you.
Yes. So does that light you up? Some people it doesn't. And then they get sloppy, and then something happens, right? So, right. Write everything down that you have to do, right? And you'll find some things like, yeah.
All my stuff, like when I go shoot something, I make a photo on my computer, and I put it all raw. I put that away. Then what I got on my desktop, that's what I work with.
Right, but you have 2 other copies of it.
Right, and then the ones that I finished working on and everything, I put them out, finished project, I put them in that particular folder where I had the
Perfect.
the raw at. So therefore I know what I cleaned up and what I didn't clean
Yep.
up, and it's done.
Yeah, having that down anymore, if we don't, we're behind. So, but some people that doesn't light them up, right? It's not their sunshine. You have to find out what lights you up. Where's your sunshine come from? And then do more of that. And if possible, allow somebody else to do the things that drain you. So Marcus Buckingham talks about it one time. He was on the Oprah show, and this woman was explaining from the fact that she was getting ready to quit her job. She was just burned out. She says, my boss gives me one more report to write, I'm out of here. Had a conversation with her boss and said, I just can't do this anymore. And he's like, you're the best at this. I thought you liked it, so I kept giving you more of it. Things we're good at also doesn't always light us up. So that's something too. We may be good at it, but it may drain the life out of us. So I'm a big fan of really focusing not only on things you're good at, but things that light you up. That's your core competency. And as much as possible, I'm using like giant air quotes here. I'm like flapping like a bird. Not everybody has the resources to have staff, but find your person that can help you stay in your sunshine longer, right? And do more of that. Also then figure out what you love about it and see if you can sprinkle it on the other things. Some of those things might actually light you up as well. So this is a big, big thing, finding out where the sunshine comes from. I love challenges. I love obstacles. I love constraints. I love all of that. And so that's a giant thing that I can sprinkle on a lot of stuff, right? So what lights you up and what drains you? What, besides photography, I'm gonna assume you all love actually pressing the shutter and the photography, right? Because that's what we do, right? That's all photographers do, by the way, right? All you do is press the shutter. Super easy.
Such a fun job.
Right.
My manual says that. Just on your job, all you do is click, click, click.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I always put that on my list.
I might play it. I have a video coming up. I may, Bob, give you another video just at the end to create drama that has a click, click, click in it. I might. We'll see. What are some things that drain you in our job as marketing?
That's number one on my list.
Right. Right.
Bookwork.
Bookwork, yeah.
I hate it.
I hate it too. I don't do it. I hired that out. That's somebody else that has a skill set. I could figure it out. So even Aaron's going to talk about email marketing later. Even when I left the hotel room this morning, he was on a call with somebody that he's going to either train how to do it, he's going to train them so they can do it. And I said, well, how much is it just for me to hire you to do it? Right? I realize it will drain me. Therefore, Jeff, my accountant, he gets paid to do that. And it lights him up, right? So yeah, bookwork, I am so with you there. What else drains you and lights you up? What lights you up besides clicking the shutter?
I like the interactions that I have with people. That's really why I do it. It's not so much the photography part, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I started out in weddings, because it's like you're always going to a party. It was fun.
Right.
At first.
Yeah.
I mean, I like corporate events because it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like going to a
So
party.
the social element
social,
is important to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just happen to take pictures while I'm there.
Right.
Or
See, that's super insightful.
in headshots is
Yeah.
the same way. It's really more a conversation that you're
Yep.
having with people, and you take a few photos along the way. So for me, it's really the interaction.
Right. Would you say it goes even a little deeper that when you hear, wow, you captured my personality, or my son or daughter's high school senior portraits, this is the first time they've ever felt pretty or confident? Like that, does that factor into it?
Yes, yeah, because actually that happened to me recently, where I didn't know the girl had recently tried to commit suicide.
Right.
And then apparently she had a really good experience with
Right.
me, and then I'm like
Right.
crying because
Right.
I had no idea that I made this girl feel so great.
I mean,
All I was doing is doing what I do with everyone else, just having a conversation,
Yeah.
making her feel pretty, and taking her.
I mean, think of how
pictures.
powerful that is. I mean, I don't know. I get the little tingles when I hear a story like that because it's like, that's maybe one of the most important jobs in the world, is taking a group of people who right now have a lot of pressures on themselves to understand where their place is. And because of the experience they have with you, it can influence them.
Yeah, give her
Come on.
a light for, it brightened her day.
Yeah.
And someone who's having serious emotional problems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, most people
you just never know.
don't ever get that in their job. We actually have access to it all the time. And you're always meeting somebody with a problem that you're helping them overcome that problem. They think they're just getting a portrait taken, but yeah, you're giving them a way to see themselves in a new light. Yeah, it's crazy cool, right? Crazy
Yeah,
cool.
Sometimes they just need to talk to you. Like
Yeah.
some of the things people say in a portrait session, I'm like, whoa, I cannot believe you told me that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a certain transparency. Well, also, I find this, if I'm taking a picture of a couple, I am, through my lens, I am standing right next to them. It's almost like I'm also, you know, as they're like in an embrace, I'm like right there. I am in their embrace. It's very powerful how close we get to our clients through our interaction and how close they let us get. It's a really awesome thing. That's also, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that also lights me up, right? And I realize, I don't take it for granted, how cool it is that we get to do what we do, right? So yeah, that lights me up. So I want to do more of that. And because I want to do more of that, I don't do the accounting, right? I'll pay Jeff to do that. I'll focus on this. Really important. So we just talked about what lights us up. I always think it's funny when I go to this slide before the slide. It's like, oh, smart Bryan put that in there. What drains you? Here's a smart person. He who loves to practice without theory is like a sailor who boards a ship without a rudder and compass, never knowing where he may cast. Right?
That's how I feel about marketing.
So marketing for me is the rudder and the compass, so I know exactly where I'm casting. And I cast in places that give me results that light me up. I don't do a lot of things that drain me. I'm strategic. I sit on the deck with my coffee and watch my dog run around and think. Quiet time? Quiet time's a good thing, right? Sometimes people are too busy to just sit and go, where should I sail with this ship to the waters that I want to be in, right? And I know that's very metaphoric, but it's no different than you are the business owner. You get to decide what it looks like and where it goes. And then have the tools, the rudder and the compass, so you know exactly where to cast. That'll make sense coming up here. Another Seth Godin quote will really bring that home. But that's how I kind of look at it. So this then, Kim, you used the hate word. I hate marketing, right? Strong.
Yes.
Hopefully, I'm maybe getting you to, I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I understand it's necessary. But then, marketing really is the rudder and the compass. So you can exactly know where to cast, so you can do more of the things that light you up. I'm in control of what I do. If I can leverage, like I talked about earlier, marketing. Then I trick that work into play, and I don't hate it anymore. So, still working on you there. Hopefully I moved you off of it a little bit, right? Method to my madness. So, the plan. We're going to get a little more tactical here. We already talked about, some of you do have a plan. May not be written down, may not be torn like mine was. Here's an important thing. I had a landlord. So let's say your space here, Sam. So during the 2008 economic situation, right? That was hard on all of us. I also had a 4,000 square foot studio. It was mom, dad, sister, and I. We had employees. I had a ton of overhead. So he came in, and at that time, a few of the other people in the building were thinking about leaving. And so he really wanted to see if it was viable for us to stay in that space, right? We were having that conversation. So he said, hey, do you have a plan? And I said, I do. He says, well, I'll be back, in a couple weeks, and let's just, dig into it a little bit more. Now, he did something really powerful there for me. I thought he wanted me to give a presentation on my plan. He knew I needed some time to really think about it, to drill in down on it. So when he came back and said, so you have a plan? And I said, yes. And I got ready to tell him my plan. And he said, I actually don't need to know it. I just needed to know for sure that you had one. Right? It's my plan. It's more important that I have one than that he approves it. He doesn't need to approve my plan, but it's his building. He needs to make sure I have one so I can follow through with what I say I'm going to do. Really powerful. Have a plan. I don't need to know your plan. You need to know your plan. And then be really flexible if you need to adapt and change the plan, that you have the wherewithal to do that. You don't have to follow a plan off the cliff. Just keep changing it. Be iterative in the plan. This whole thing is though you have to have one. So if you don't, more homework for you. Create a plan. Now focus it on a plan of things that light you up. Strategically try and figure out either how to change perspective on the things that drain you, or give them to your accountant or your whatever, even your marketing person. I may never get you to see marketing like I do. That's okay. But that might be the thing of, I want to stay in this genius, and now I need to have a plan. And that might be increasing your prices 20% so you can have a marketer. Right? So we don't just raise our prices, and this isn't there's a little bit of psychology of sales in this. We don't do it just to make more income. We do it to make the income we generate more fun. And some of that might be paying other people to do the things that drain us, right? Have the plan. How many of you know this, divergent and convergent thinking? You do this every day, by the way. So, Alan, what's for dinner tonight?
I don't know.
What are some options?
Probably some salmon.
Salmon?
Maybe some some sort of chicken.
Okay. Now, is that something you're going to go buy, or do you already have it?
Right now, the refrigerator's empty.
Okay. So you'd have to go get it.
So I have options.
Okay. So in this example, he's going to go through, well, we have some things in the refrigerator. I'm just going to role play here. Some things at the store. Now, there is some stuff frozen. I could call home and have it put out, and we could thaw it out, and I could have it. Now, maybe I won't have that till tomorrow. So I'm going to thaw out that thing for tomorrow. Tonight, because the refrigerator's empty, I'm going to go to the store and get the salmon. But I like chicken too, so I'm going to pick chicken up, and you're doing divergent thinking. But you're going to eat tonight, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, no possibility that wouldn't happen. You will converge down to an idea. Right. Who's real close to getting their masters or their craftsman? Okay. So you'll walk across the stage in January, right? Do you know exactly what you're going to wear on that night?
Jeans and polo shirt.
Do you already have the jeans and polo shirt, or are you going to buy some new ones?
I might actually wear slacks. But
Okay. Okay. So what you're doing right there is,
the divergent thinking.
right.
Go this way.
And you're going to actually walk across the stage in clothes.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay, good.
I mean, there wasn't any question about that.
Right. So you will converge. down. I will know, because you will be clothed, that you made a decision.
That's right.
Okay. So we use divergent and convergent thinking every day in everything we do. It sounds like a big word, big words, or a theory, but we're really good at it by now. This is no different than running a business. So I want to increase in the next 90 days by $10,000. What are all the possibilities that I could do? You're going to have to, if you want to make it happen, converge down to an idea with a plan that you'll implement. If you stay in divergent thinking, you won't actually put anything, you won't have that high bias towards action. You actually probably won't do it. What was the likelihood again that you won't have dinner tonight because you couldn't make a decision?
Almost zero.
Almost zero, right?
Yeah.
Make the, I'm going to increase my business by $10,000 in the next 90 days almost zero.
Booyah!
Right? Good. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So get really good at this. Get good at the 4 stages of consciousness and get good at this. What are all the possible ways I can increase my business by $10,000 in 90 days? Come up with a plan and then implement. High bias towards action. Now I know that there's some eyebrow raises right now. How do I do that? We're going to keep getting there. We're working right there. Yeah, she really was giving me the, I just still don't quite see the connection.
She gets everybody.
Can you do the one eyebrow?
She's gonna call
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no. And the fun thing is, I do know that the answer's coming up. So I know what the clicker holds. Right? So here, this is me being transparent. I actually want you to keep getting closer to the understanding, put the bow on it, so then you go, I get it, and I have enough belief I can do that, right? I've been stripping away excuses like crazy on us to get to the point where you're like, yeah, that's not that hard, Brian. I could have been doing this all along, okay? This is gold. This is everything. This is what you and I talked about on the ride home last night. It is easier to make products and services for the customers you seek to serve than it is to find customers for the products and services.
Remember that for this afternoon too?
Yeah,
We're gonna call back to that.
Yeah, so this is kind of fun. You know, Aaron gets to, I get to basically be dislodging fruit here, and then Aaron will just give you the final shake and it all fall to the ground, and then all you have to do is pick it up, right? It's easier to make products and services for the customers you seek to serve than it is to create products and services, find customers for your products and services. I think photographers historically have this completely backwards. This is what I make. Who needs it? Hey, did you know I'm a photographer? Do you need photography? Did you know I'm a photographer? And we're looking for people who want photography, right? Instead, I find a group of people to serve. And this is where I start to drill down. So I'm going to get tangible on this. One of my 10K projects, and I'm getting ready to do it again. Really, this is how I operate. So I'm going to give you kind of my brain thing. Kim and I are watching a movie. I see a veteran in the movie. And I'm like, oh, and my dad was a Marine. So I'm pro, military, pro veteran, that community. My wife works at the VA. I mean, it's a very big part of us. And I'm like, how can I serve my veteran community better? We're watching a movie. I'm having this conversation in my own head. And then I said, I know Leanne Pack, and she does work. She's a realtor, highly connected realtor in the community. And I know she does some work with the VFW. So I messaged her while we're watching the movie. Hey, Leanne, I have an idea I'd like to talk to you about. I want to figure out how we can partner together to serve veterans. Now, I just used the word serve veterans, and she taught me an important thing. We don't serve them, we support them. Just a little fun fact, right? They're the ones that serve, we support them. So, Now I would,
disagree with that. As a veteran,
okay,
I think that you can serve veterans.
okay, good to know, right? When she said it that way, I did think about it from the standpoint that the more I can support them, but it's okay for me to use it interchangeably is what you're telling me. Okay. But then I thought, okay, so how can I get an outcome on it? Like, what are the pieces I can put into place? So she and I talked. We lined up 2 days worth of portraits for him, right? I not only gave them an image, so the session was free, gave them an image. 20% of my sale did go back to the VFW, and I kept the 80%, and the 80% from those sessions turned into 10K within 90 days. That's just one example. I take that example and I rinse and repeat it. There'll be other examples of it, but that's the thing. They already believe in the VFW. The VFW needed a new patio and a barbecue. The 20% went towards that. They were actually buying portraits for me to support the thing they loved, and they bought portraits. I mean, I photographed a World War II veteran, right? He's 92. Lots of different ages of veterans. Some of them, one guy from Vietnam who never had an image of himself in uniform. He was a Marine, he didn't have any images of him in uniform. So now he has one in his den, he has one at his office, he gave some to his family, right? I actually gave him something he didn't have. Well, he bought something he didn't have, but it was meaningful to him. He was supporting the VFW. You'll see exactly how this plays out coming up. So that's kind of my thing, is I look for a community to serve with the goods and services instead of, hey, I'm a photographer, I have goods and services now, who needs them? I'm very specific. So this is where I was going with you. Tell me about the high schools in this area. And then drilling that down. So for me, high school senior boys that don't want to be photographed, kids who have horses, are in band, or play golf. Football players aren't necessarily, they could fit into the boys that don't want to be photographed. But it's really the golfer that doesn't want to be photographed, that their family has usually more resources. Those are my ideal clients. And so I pick those little pockets and I will serve them. And I create goods and services for them. So I'm going to start to tie this together. The thing that you have to do is sometimes have those moments on the couch where you're like, how could I serve this group of people? What goods and services or products or things could I do for them? Instead of, well, I offer wall portraits and you're all these different people, right? That's a lot of different mindsets to try and wrap your head around. I try and key in on a group, and that group will usually have a similar mindset. And so once I understand a group, I understand the group instead of all the groups. Okay. If you confuse, you lose is the main one here. And this is Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. How many of you have read that book? Okay.
I have the book, I haven't read it.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's it called again?
Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. So if you confuse, you lose is really, really good from the standpoint that most of the time we talk in ways that make sense to us, but we don't actually make sense to our client. We have to talk in ways that make sense to them, not us. You actually, again, have to spend some time thinking about this. We understand the importance of a wall portrait. I'm going to just kind of interject here. It's a little bit from Phil M. Jones. I mean, even getting people to understand things, people make decisions for their reasons, not for yours, right? So being able to say, just imagine how you'll feel when you see your family portrait hanging on the wall. The psychology of that is they have to see that. If they can't see it, the likelihood that they'll buy it really diminishes. So if you can get them to imagine it, they then can see it, and then how will it make you feel? That feeling is strong enough that they're going to be like, I'm going to feel really happy when I see that wall portrait. They can see it and feel it. The likelihood that they'll buy it goes way up, right? Just that simple phrase, and that psychology right there is like super powerful, okay? So don't talk in our language for us. Talk to your customer in ways that they can see themselves in that environment or in that situation. But also, being a trusted guide. Here's the key takeaway. So being clear and targeted, standout statement. I'll tell you the standout statement here in a second, but I want to go to this point. Every movie is basically somewhat the same. There's a hero who goes against adversity, who in their darkest moment, a trusted guide shows up, helps them overcome the adversity so they win in the end. Or illustrated differently, Luke Skywalker comes against the evil empire, right? Lands in a deserted kind of area. Yoda emerges, helps Luke find the Force. Luke blows up the Death Star. And we all cheer and we watch it over and over, and every movie is basically that same thing, you know. Boy wants to meet girl, you know, it's the stories. So what we need to do though is be Yoda to our clients. They really want deeper meaning and satisfaction in their family. All kinds of different things they want. Using psychology, I feel like I'm always like looking at you on the psychology thing. The likelihood that kids feel acceptance is when they see themselves part of a family unit. So if you can show your kids that they're part of a family unit by a portrait on the wall, they will actually see themselves as part of something stable. They'll have a better sense of community.
There are psychological studies on that.
Yes, I know, right? It's a thing. And so that's one of the things we actually do for people, is by showing their family portrait, we're actually giving those kids a sense of, I belong to this family. It's huge, right? We don't get paid enough, really. Yeah?
So I take that very concept into the corporate realm. And talk to employers about how they can honor their employees by including them in publications.
Yep. Perfect. And I've never had anybody say that, but you are so on. The likelihood that they'll just go somewhere else because somebody else offered them a job or a little bit more money, they feel invested in this job because they are part of the mission of this company.
We have that conversation.
Brilliant. You probably just helped me get another 10% out of everything. So when you teach, you learn. Yeah, that's awesome. So building a story brand by Donald Miller, the key is we are the trusted guide. We're not the hero of the story. So in our marketing, we talk about how having a family, so this would be a good blog post, or newsletter, email marketing, talk about how portraits, right? How portraits can actually increase acceptance in the family, right? Now, not every client is going to be like, oh, I want to read a study, but there are some clients that would. They'd be like, oh, I think this is really fascinating, and that maybe is. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that a lot of my clients say, well, I don't want a large family portrait on my wall in my living room. I don't they feel like it's kind of self-indulgent.
Right.
But what I've done is I've put our family portraits in each of my kids' rooms. So when they wake up, they see our family portrait. So that's one way to sort of overcome the objection, I suppose. Yeah.
That's awesome. Right.
I take that same concept to the corporate client and say that you can do a large canvas of your company in your lobby, and everybody gets to see their corporate family, corporate team.
Yeah, every day.
It's all that same.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Super powerful. Okay, before we play the video, we're going to take a 3.5 minute break. Let's take some seats again. So when Robbie comes out, I'm just going to kind of set the stage for this for a second. How many of you know who Angelina Jordan is? Okay, so that's good. I always love it when nobody knows about what I'm about ready to show them. But I want you to watch this and then think about what you're about to see. We'll have a little discussion afterwards, okay? Okay, so let's play it.
Okay.
And
All right.
Since I was very little, I just wanted to sing for Simon. I really want to impress him. That would be so amazing. And this is the biggest opportunity of my life. I really hope to win the show.
You won once, right?
Yeah,
You think you can?
I hope so.
Miss Angelina Jordan, go out there and show Simon what you got. All right.
Hi, Angelina.
Hi.
So nice to meet you. You won Norway's Got Talent in 2014.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us, how old were you when you won?
I was 7 years old.
You were 7 years old. So you are now 13.
I'm 13, yes.
You are 13.
Yeah. I've waited 10 years to sing for Simon, and I'm finally...
Oh, really?
So
Wow.
us three have
What
nothing
is
to
it?
do with what's going on
No,
tonight?
we don't. What is it about Simon?
He's just amazing, and he's a legend.
He is. He is a legend.
Yeah, he is.
Well, Angelina, I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Can you just come up to the mic like you're going to be?
Yeah. Anywhere the wind blows doesn't really matter to me.
Wow.
Too late. My time has come. Sudden shivers down my spine. Body's aching all the time. Goodbye, everybody. I've got to go. Gotta leave you all behind and face the truth.
Wow.
I don't wanna die. I sometimes wish I'd never been born at all. Oh, baby, can't do this to me, baby. Just gotta get out of here. Yeah. Nothing really matters. Anyone can say. Nothing really matters. Nothing really matters to me.
That was insane.
I feel like I am witnessing the birth of something really special, a star, and as they would say in Norway, jeg elsker deg.
Oh, thank you. I love you too.
And I think this moment, this time on stage, this song, this performance is going to change your life and your career forever. I believe that.
Everything about tonight felt like it came from you. The arrangement of the song, the simplicity of it. I've never heard that song in that version before. Seriously, this was an amazing performance.
Friends would walk up to me and just be like, "What the f is in your mug?" And I would just tell them, "It's mud."
She wasn't wearing shoes.
There you are.
Right. She wasn't wearing shoes. So the story of that is, and I'm still coming now through the thing there. Boop. So one of the fun stories about that is she was performing for a group of kids. I mean, she's a kid too. And the kids there didn't have shoes. So we were talking at lunch yesterday about being in South Africa. And there were all these moments where there was this combination of blessing going back and forth. I thought I was there to bless them. They were blessing me. So Angelina finds herself in this situation. The kids there don't have shoes. And she said something about doing something for them. And I think one of the little kids called her out and said, "Well, you'll forget about us." So she performs barefoot as a symbol that she's never forgetting those kids.
It also probably helps ground her.
Yeah, right. You can feel the ground. You can feel the vibrations. But right after she taped this, and this was a couple years ago, she had already raised $10 million in aid for those kids.
Wow. Wow.
She's 13. Kind of makes me go, huh, I'm kind of underperforming.
Yeah.
Right? I have a big heart to bless others. She's my inspiration, right? Super powerful, right? What else did you notice about that performance?
Very unique.
It's Bohemian Rhapsody, right? It's one of the most iconic songs. And did she go straight at Queen and Freddie Mercury? No.
She did it different.
She did it different. And what did Simon say at the end? I've never heard that song in that version before. Everything was from you. And yet we as creatives try and look like the people who we want to be most like, right? Oh, Ben Shirk did this kind of composite. I want to one day, instead of what is our Bohemian Rhapsody version that we can do. It's much more powerful if I've never seen that before. Everything feels like it comes from you, right? So I am a huge fan of Angelina Jordan, not only her music, what she represents, how she's using her talents. I honestly think she covers an Adele song that's better than Adele, right? So she's coming along nicely on her career. She's 16 now. Also, she designed the clothes that she wears. She has a clothing deal now. She has a record deal. I'm going to go see her in concert in Tuscany in the same stadium that Gladiator was filmed in. That's an amphitheater. I'm going to fly to Italy, and Kim and I are going to see her someday as soon as those tickets are released. She hasn't released any concert dates. I already know I'm this enamored with her. I can't wait to be in that environment, right?
Does she still live in Marvin?
No, she's in LA now. Yeah. So fun thing, if you kind of Google her or look at Angelina Jordan, you can see some of her new music. She sings this song about her grandfather a million miles away that makes me just hurt and cry. She is a storyteller also. I'm just a huge fan of hers. So why do you think, I mean, some of it you'll go, yeah, I understand why you showed. Why did I show this to you? What is it about her that I want to try and use as a teaching moment?
Her drive.
Yeah. Her grit, yeah, her drive.
She did it her way.
She did it her way.
She told the story.
Told a story. Yep. Also, I kind of alluded to the fact that she's using her skills to give back, right? So in some ways, I think that the more you can tap into somebody like this and deconstruct them, and then figure out how to use your skills to construct what you want it to look like. Now I'm going to give you 3 styles of marketing here, and we'll talk through each of them. There are more styles than this. There's a 4th one that I don't talk about here. I'm going to just briefly talk about it, and it's the Delta, Sky Miles, and Marriott Bonvoy rewards programs. Super powerful mindset. So I'm a Delta, Sky Miles, and Marriott Bonvoy person. So when I stay at Marriott properties, I always get upgraded. When I fly Delta, I always get upgraded. So one fun thing, I've already been given, when I leave here tonight, I'll be flying first class because I get upgraded, right? So I'll have a whiskey and Diet Coke on my way to Seattle, right?
That doesn't suck.
Right. And it's because I'm loyal to Marriott and Delta, and Delta's loyal back to me, right? I haven't figured out how to get my marketing around that, but I know how it makes me feel, right? Okay. So let's go to my slide deck now. 3 styles of marketing. These are the 3 I'm going to cover. One day, maybe when you have me back, I'll cover this 4th way to get the Marriott Delta thing into our businesses. But here's the 3 that I want to cover. This first one is Warby Parker glasses. How many of you know Warby Parker? Okay. Tell me what you know about them.
Just their advertisements on TV, basically, they're after the eyeglass market, and their thing is it doesn't have to cost that much, basically, with style.
Right?
So
what else do you know about them? Is there how did you become first familiar with them? Is I think where I want to see if you can unpack.
Well, my familiarity is only through their advertising.
Okay.
Because I wear glasses. And
right.
At the time, I was looking for new glasses.
Right. Yeah. So you had a need.
Yep.
They were in your.
Prevalent.
Yes.
At that time, yeah.
So how they first really carved out a niche was you could get 5 pairs sent to you to try on. You've tried them on, ask for advice, Alan, tell me which one of these do you like? You like these, I like these, I'm gonna order these. You got feedback, you sent them back. Nobody else was doing that. They eliminated the confusion. Like, I don't know which ones to buy. That's really where their strength was. But I believe social mission is their strength. So there's Tom Shoes was kind of the first to do this, right? Here is the power of Warby Parker. Since day one, over 7 million pairs of glasses have been distributed through our Buy a Pair, Give a Pair program. Alleviating the problem of impaired vision is at the heart of what we do. Our impact continues to expand. Right? Alleviating the problem of impaired vision is at the heart of what we do. Our impact continues to expand. That is so powerful. 7 million pair, buy a pair, give a pair. I have choices where who I buy expensive glasses from. I can get them cheaper, but I don't know another company that tells me this. They have a mission since day one. They're committed to it. and impact, they're speaking my love language, continues to expand. I am invested in their mission too. And I need glasses.
That's how I feel about moments.
Yeah, right? So, right, they give a pair of socks also for every pair that are purchased, right? So, is there a way you can do social mission in your business? I gave you a really micro example of working with the VFW, helping them get a patio and a barbecue, giving them also products and services, but it was connecting to them greater than I'm a portrait photographer and you need portraits. Yes, we need glasses, we need socks, we need shoes, we need stuff. But if you can tie it socially to something they already believe in. So I do this a lot in my community with helping my community solve their most important problems. I partner with my community to solve their most important problems, and in the process, I end up selling photography, right? But that's where I'm a marketer, small business person first. It just happens to be I do that as a photographer, okay? So getting good at saying, how can I partner or serve a group of people, like Seth said, find a group of people, create the products and services for them, versus again saying, I have these products and services, who wants them? Have the compass and rudder so you know where to cast, right? So that's just one example. Here's another example. You've probably heard of this company, right? Apple does a really good job of seeking out a group of people to serve. Creatives is one of their niches, right? And they create products built with the creative in mind. They're always talking about how the things that we make actually serve you. Where actually PCs are built more from the standpoint, we make computers, who needs one? So Apple, I think, attaches to something and a feeling much more than most computer companies. So if we can then figure out, because we've spent some time thinking about our ideal customer, how can we talk to them so that they feel like we're talking directly to them? One way to do that is called a sideways sales launch. And this would be tying into Aaron's program later on. If I polled you guys, what are 3 different struggles that you have in your photography business? You would all tell me some. Some of them would really overlap, right? There would be like, okay, 80% of you struggle here, another 80% struggle here, and then 70% struggle with these. So I have a real good sense, and then I would mark it back to you. Good news, I have a way to solve these 3 problems. You'd all be like, that's exactly what I need. I didn't basically say, you know, this is what I do, and hope you identify with it. I've asked you first, and then I've come back. Apple does a good job of that, and making you feel like they just get me. I just turn it on and it works, right? How could you do that? Again, this is homework and deeper thinking. How can I identify with a group of people? Like, so from the psychology standpoint, there are families that would really love to know more about how having a family portrait on the wall creates a sense of family, a sense of community, a sense of, I'm struggling with the word that I want to say, of, I mean, pride of family is one thing, but that connection, right? They would love to know more about that, right? That's a group of people that I would really love to work with and talk to them about, you know, how can we incorporate the things that you love? Oh, you guys love going to the beach as a family. Let's create that portrait down at the beach. You know, let's tie that in, and let's, you know, think about what room that would be in. And then next year, let's do, you know, tight headshots of each of the kids in black and white, and let's put that in the hallway. And then the year after that, so-and-so is going to be a high school senior. and you already know the ages of the other. Having one entry point can lead to a whole 5-year, 6-year arc of family portraits, right? By just talking to those people that it actually matters to. It's a lot easier than just trying to say everybody should have family portraits. I don't believe everybody thinks they do. I only want the ones that really think they do. And then I do a really nice job of helping them even expand on that. Apple does a good job there. And then this one is probably the closest to me. So Petit Philippe watches. Now my mom, I mentioned earlier, she did our accounting. Her hallway, or her office was across the hallway from me. And I would go in her office and her hair would be messed up. And I knew that's because she was like really working on crunching the numbers. Mom was so cute too. If she was off by 10 cents, she had to find it. And my thing would be like, here mom, here's a quarter. Keep the change, right? Be done with it. Because marketing, let's spend our time on bigger things. She had to get it right, okay? So she always had her hair messed up. Well, I do the same thing when I'm really thinking, I get my hand in my hair. So I saw that and I'm like, yeah, that's us, right? So Petit Philippe watches, they're kind of the top of the watch grail. They're really awesome. But here's what they believe. You never actually own a Petit Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation. So those watches might, start at 40,000, go up to 100,000, go up to a couple million now. Because people, there are certain Petit Philippes, they have to interview you for you to buy one. Because it takes 1 year for a skilled craftsman to make one. And there's only so many of them. They don't want you to flip it either. So they want to know that you actually believe in Petit Philippe watches, that you're not buying it as a flipper. They're not for everybody. I actually am not either. So if you need cheap portraits, probably not the right one for you. It takes me a lot of time and energy, and I really want you to enjoy this. And I'm going to put everything I have into it. So I don't have a lot of time to be doing a lot of things that drain me of life. I'm going to focus on those people that really need my services, right? And I'm passing the information along for the next generation. So this is legacy. This is legacy. So I use all three of those in my marketing. I'm a second-generation business owner in Hillsboro, Oregon. I can lay down legacy. I've already shown you a picture of my dad and Frank Cricchio. I've talked several times about my industry experience. I have legacy in this, right? So legacy comes very natural to me. I have a high social mission, right? I want us all to do well. I want us to thrive, right? So I believe in giving back to my community. If I can use my skills to bless others, and they will gladly help me get what I want to, that's a sweet spot right there. Social mission. And I really look for a community to serve, that I serve them in a way that they make it feel like I built it just for them, just like Apple does. So I don't look at other photographers. I look at these three companies and I go, how can I be a little bit closer and more like them? And then using, some psychology to help understand that community and what's important to them. And then that's how you build your marketing, right? Now for me, that's a lot of fun. And it's also a puzzle, right? It's a crossword puzzle, or it's a scavenger hunt, or it's a video game, right? I don't know exactly how it always comes together, but I get to be strategic in my thinking. So if I'm too busy doing projects that aren't high value, I don't get to spend time, effort, and energy on that. Now this is also a place where I feel like I have a competitive advantage because I know this. And most people don't think like this. and therefore I am running faster than they are, and the bear is going to eat them. But now, right, until maybe today, you didn't have all of this thought process, so you were unconsciously incompetent in this area. Now I'm showing it to you, and I'm trying to bring you along to how then eventually you can become unconsciously competent with it, right? You'll go, okay, I need to talk to my customers. I need to understand it from their perspective. I need to tailor what I say to a specific group of people that also align with my mission, whether it's legacy, social mission, or something else. I mean, you might have another thing that you are using in marketing. I've only used these 3 as an example. So which one of these 3 would you immediately go, yeah, that's me? Legacy. Right? So legacy, I think, is great. And I say figure out then how to sprinkle the other 2 in. Because if you put all of it in legacy, some people, social mission is more important. High school seniors or youth, I think, are more social mission based right now. Their parents are legacy, so if you can tie that together, if you're a high school senior photographer, I think that's the sweet spot. Social mission and legacy. Because you have to have a senior at least say you're cool enough and that you're worth it, and their parents have to go, yeah, you're also somebody that I want to give business to, right? So I think those 2 tied together, super powerful. Yeah.
And mine maybe is more association to a feeling, because I sell to people that this image reminds them.
Yeah.
It brings back and emotes a feeling when they were younger.
Right. Yep.
They've been there with the family.
Yep. Yeah. So you can see how these 3 companies, as an example, look at their marketing. Look at companies like them. Study their marketing. I have a slide that says stop later on here, and it's basically stop looking at other photographers, because all you do is become other photographers. And I'm talking about myself here. Other photographers are not necessarily the best marketers. A few are, but as an industry, we're too busy on the craft, right? So these companies have giant marketing teams of like really smart people. So I go look at the really smart people and emulate them and try and bring that into me, right? So that's that blueprinting thing. See something, apply it, sprinkle it everywhere else. So here's I mentioned if you confuse, you lose. Here are my things I say about my business. I'm committed to your story and your legacy. So storytelling and legacy, that's one of the ways I communicate that. Through communication, we design portraits that tell your legacy story in an artful way. Communication, design, art. That's my system that I take my clients through. I begin with the end in mind, but I first have to know what you want. So we're going to spend some time in communication so that I can design something that is viewed as art, right? That stops people too that, oh, I don't really need something artful. I just need a quick headshot, i.e. a realtor. I want to work with the companies that say, yeah, kind of like, you know, having a portrait of the work family in the office. Here's how we're going to use these assets, right? Communication, once I understand what their needs are, I can design something that they can use that's artful. So, communication, design, art, committed to telling your story and your legacy. That's my standout statement. That's how I those are my little taglines, which have really nothing to do with I'm an award-winning portrait photographer. That's the language of I'm the hero, and instead here I am the trusted guide to them, right? It's their story. It's their legacy. And I'm going to communicate with them so we can design what they want. So having a statement that is focused on them, using your strengths, that's where they actually believe too. I'm so glad that I worked with you. You're twice as much as everybody else, but you're the only one that can actually deliver what I want because you took the time to communicate with me, right? Super important. When you talk that way, some customers are going to go, you're not the right one for me. And you're like, possibly, you know. You can unpack it a little bit, but then when it's evident, you know, there's other photographers. I only want to work with those that go, I really want to work with you. And that's what I find is that's where I build loyalty, right? Because once they get a taste of that, they can't really go anywhere else. So I'm not the best photographer in town. You saw that time-lapse video Sam Terrell did? He's 3 miles basically from me. He says, well, we both agree, he's a better photographer. I just have the best clients. And he says, I'm better, but I can't touch your clients, right? So that's one of the things. I built loyalty, and I'm fortunate. My dad started building that loyalty in our community 40 years ago. So we don't run a lot of social media. I do it because I'm social. And I go out and I talk to people. And I spend time with them, right?
Time is trust.
Yeah. I'm committed to my community. They're committed to the community. We're committed to the same thing, right? So focus, edit to amplify. So Mark Parker was the CEO of Nike, and Fast Company did an article on him 2014 or 15, I can't remember. He was listed as the most creative CEO, and he was a designer before he became the CEO, and that is actually his office on the left. Now, some people said he looks a little scary, like, you know, but the creativity is what I think is supposed to be shown here. But the big takeaway is, at the time, Nike had 350 projects they had in research and development. And he realized that 350, even with Nike's resources, was too many. So he focused them down to 50. And out of those 50, they came up with Flyknit, which was one of their newest innovations, lighter, faster, stronger, better, right? And that actually was a big spike in their growth. So when you're a multi-billion-dollar company, to be able to almost go straight up in sales, that's a big thing. And he realizes he only got there by editing so he could amplify. So I do environmental business portraits. I edit and I amplify that message. Byproducts of it, the 70-20-10, I get the families and the high school seniors and the other things. But if I said I am a family, high school senior, wedding, right, all the things, if I'm a photographer, that's a lot of things. So I'm a small business owner in my community that serves it with photography, specializing in environmental business portraits. Very, very niched, right? I edit so I can amplify that message.
Do you have to edit to one?
No. But you might craft your marketing around one to an audience, find a group of people that you want to serve, edit and talk to that group, and then another group. So, and Phil's not here, Phil White, you guys know Phil, right? Right next door to Phil is the dance studio, the performance center, right? Yeah. So that is a group of people, dancers and people who will invest in that whole community, right? I would craft a message just for them. That message would probably not resonate as much with sports kids. I would have, if that was another folks, athletes, that would be another message that I would edit so I could amplify it. So, yeah, you don't have to do one, but just try and be singular to the group that you're talking to where they say, yes, you're the right one for me because we align in our thinking. Innovation leads to breakthrough. So this is the 70-20-10 again. That 10%, if you innovate on the 10%, it may lead to a breakthrough, and you never know, that might become your 70%. And it's also going to allow you, when it is time, Larry, to say, I'm not going to photograph weddings anymore, you already have the thing, the breakthrough, to transition right into it so that it doesn't feel like there's any interruption. And it's also, you're in control of it. It's not any other factor being in control of it, which again shows my craving for control. There's a lot of words on here. I don't think we'll go through those. Basically, one quote here, the idea is that by cutting back, you can focus, strengthen, and clarify your message or intent. That's powerful. By cutting back, you can strengthen, focus, and clarify your intent. Spend some time on that, right? There's a good exercise now. I'm obviously closer to the beach than you guys are, but you have lots of falls and water and stuff here. Go rent a cabin for a weekend or a week and just sit in quiet and look at your marketing, figure out where you can cut things out so you can better focus. I think the more you align with the people you want to serve, the better it all works, right? So I'm a big fan of kind of pulling yourself out of the day-to-day because there are too many shiny objects and squirrels in life. You have to basically give yourself a retreat, a business retreat, to go focus. And just even if you just say, okay, this wall, we're going to cover it with Post-it notes and do convergent thinking on everything that we can possibly do. By the end of the time we leave here, we're going to diverge it down into the 3 things that are most important to us. And we're going to clarify our message on that. Now, we're not going to stop doing these things immediately, but we're going to work towards these so that in 5 years, we're working less, but better. And that's actually why marketing is fun. That's what marketing allows you to do. Marketing isn't just to generate more business, to make you busier. Okay? We're already busy enough. We already have probably too much business. How can we edit so we can amplify, do better with less? And that's the strategic thinking and alignment combination. And even if you told that story without naming people about how you were able to work with somebody and it was helping them overcome a really difficult time in their life, that message right there probably right now resonates. The statistics and the data that shows how our youth are struggling, there's more than enough business that would say, you're exactly the kind of person I want to partner with. And I want my kids to be photographed by you. I can get portraits done by a bunch of people, but you're the only one that talks to me this way. You're the only one that understands what's important to my family. Right? Wow.
Good Lord. And we're done.
Okay. You're seeing a lot. You're seeing other programs here. That's
impressive.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. Give me a second. Give me a blank slide, please.
I am working on that.
So there's me training with Phil Jones, by the way. All right, let's come back to okay. You can go back now. So basically this is the next slide, and it's basically how to amplify or execute. So I talk about not only being inspired to do this, but give you some tangible things. So in the last 15 minutes, we're going to get to the actual way you're going to apply this. Okay? So one of the things I do is, because again, I mentioned I specialize in environmental business portraits, but one of the things I heard in our community was that the Hillsborough Community Foundation was Hillsborough's best kept secret. So how can I help Hillsborough solve their most important problem by using my services as photography, right? So I partnered with them to do not pro bono, but in-kind donation. I took their board of directors, offered an in-kind donation to photograph them, valued at $10,000. So that gave a level of commitment to them, right? And then I was able to partner with them that each of the people on their board of directors, if they donated to the foundation, they would get a family portrait session from me. Okay? I know what my averages are, and I also know that this group of people have the means to hire me. So it's one thing to market to a group, but if you don't market to a group that can also afford you, right, then you're just trying to communicate price. They could already afford me. They were philanthropic in their community. I solved their problem by doing an in-kind donation. But where I actually started making the commitment back to me was photographing their families. This next slide that you'll see, and hopefully it doesn't jump like crazy, is Les Davis. So I photographed Les and his family and his 4 children and then their children, right? And also headshots for his company and then products for his company. And then from the portrait session on the left, I mean, these are some of the wall portraits that Les has at his house. But then he also wanted to buy images for his kids. So what I told him is, why don't you invest at least the price of a 20-inch image for each of your 4 kids? And then I can go over, find out what the appropriate size for their house is, and then all they have to do is pay the difference. So I sell 60-inch images to Les. That's what fit in his house. He also buys each of his adult kids 20-inch credit. And then I go to their house and say, oh, actually here, 40 by 40 would be the right size, or right? And then they just pay the difference, which they thought was a good deal. Les thought it was a good deal because he wasn't paying all that, right? And I thought it was a fantastic deal all around, right? So finding groups like this. Now, Les, when people come over to the house, love those wall portraits. And if they also want to give a session fee to the community foundation, I will photograph their family also. And if they're like Les, which they probably are pretty close to, I also know I'll get my averages. And they've already seen what I've done for Les. So that group of people right there is a rinse and repeat, right? Now I went to their board of directors and presented this idea. So I might have this slide actually mouse or antelope. I go and talk to a group of people, right? And do one sales pitch that can get me a lot of eyes versus trying to find one-off customers. Hey, I'm a photographer, do you need photography? Hey, I'm a photographer, do you need photography? Instead of, hey, there's a problem to solve, a social mission problem in our community. I might be able to help solve it with photography, and we're all aligned together. Therefore, we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, and I can do this for you. So my 20% adjacent business actually is how I serve them after I use my main business to start the conversation, right? So it's these tangents. I kind of feel like, it's using all of the resources from when, they used to, hunt a buffalo and had to clothe themselves and create a tent. I use one idea and then I go really deep in it. So I really only look for really strong connections. I'm not trying to be a photographer. I'm a small business owner that happens to solve people's most important problems with photography. And that's how I use my marketing to align and connect. So 70, 30, 90. In the next 7 days, so today is Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I hope you email me so I don't have to call you, how you're going to use today's conversation. You had little ideas, I hope, trust, believe, that popped into your head, that certain things you went, yeah, that makes sense, that I align with that. In the next 7 days, I want you to start an idea that you're going to implement. because like we said, there's shiny objects, squirrels, life, a lot of other things that are going to come at you, right? In the next 30 days, this idea that you're going to converge down to, you're going to have some kind of plan in place. Maybe it's how to better communicate to high school seniors that just have a sense of where do they belong in the community. Maybe that's a message that you want to get out. Maybe it's, hey, I've had conversations with a few businesses that really have a strong social mission. They don't have the assets. I can help solve that problem by partnering with them. We both believe in the same thing, and we can edit our message to amplify to a very specific group of people, knowing exactly where they're going to cast, right? And that's what you're going to do. In 7 days, you're going to think of where you want to use this. 30 days, you've kind of framed out the plan so that you can see fruit from it in 90 days. Again, Sam's going to be a downhill giant slalom skier on Thursday at 3 o'clock. He has to peak. If you try and peak after the 90 days, you're on to something else. So I want you to go 7 days. I'm going to come up with the idea from today that I'm going to be working on implementing conversations, maybe even sessions within 30 days that I can have basically wrapped up in 90 days. So this 7/30/90 is on top of the business you're already doing, right? This isn't to replace business. I want you to be successful in the day-to-day stuff you already do. And this is the way where you can find growth. And maybe some of these things are a 10% project that eventually you go, wow, that is so successful. I'm going to make it my 70% because I'm so aligned. I'm working less and focused. This is exactly where I want to be. So a year from now, you may see a shift, and you use your marketing and your communication to get there, right? So it's a lot to do with overcoming the objection of what marketing is, and do you have the ability to learn new things and become good at it, right? And then the end result is highly focused work, right? So there's one technique called the Pomodoro technique where you work for, you can pick the amount of time. I pick 20 minutes, highly focused for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break, highly focused for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break, highly focused for 20 minutes, take a 15-minute break. You will get more done in that, say, hour and 20 minutes than you would if you just tried to work on a project, right? So you have to focus and defocus, and then you do that. After 4 hours, you've done so much anyway, you're exhausted. You're like, I'm done for the day. Most people will still have things to do, and they're highly ineffective in the things they're doing. So that's one way to be focused, is just using a technique like that. I have an egg timer. You just click the thing around, and you hear the little ticking, and you just stay focused on what you're doing. There will be the urge to look at Facebook. There will be the urge to, well, I need to just check on this. I just need to open my phone. Don't, just stay highly focused. 70/30/90, right? And then you will find momentum from this. It will work. And you will then start to do this all the time. Wow, I want to see results in 90 days versus I hope next year I'm in a different place. You'll start to see results quick. So you shorten your cycle, which then is kind of a craving to get more of that, and you'll want to do that more, right? It's like, I could do something, I could do marketing, but I don't know how to focus my marketing, and I don't see results from it. I don't even know how to measure it, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, if I focus on something in the next 7 days, I start to implement it in 30 days, that I can see tangible results in 90 days. Now, there's homework on this. And then this is my commitment to you. In the next 7 days, message me with an idea that you're thinking about using. If you do that, I will help you through the next steps. No questions asked. If you don't message me, then I'm going to assume you just have it all figured out. But if you want some help on really making it work, just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. This is, what I heard you say, and this is maybe I have a question on it, I will partner with you like crazy because you're starting to do the work. Now, my goal then is to get you through a cycle, right? And then you don't need me anymore. And then pretty soon you're like, okay, I can start to implement these things anytime I want, and I can clarify my message anytime I want to go exactly where I want to go, right? That's then taking marketing and making it a superpower versus a thing that you don't like to do. Now, it may still be something that drains you. The application of it, like the going old school, licking the stamp to put on the direct mail piece, right? I mean, we used to do that. That used to, drain you. It's a different world now. I mean, direct mail is still a thing. But you can offset that. You can hire that out. The strategic thinking of how you want to align and who you want to show up and how you want to serve your community, that's kind of on you as a business owner. And we as creatives, we should be able to figure that out, right? So stop looking at other photographers. I've alluded to this a couple times. Don't be a cover band, right? Be unique to you. And that's one of the things is there's a lot of people in my community that are all being cover bands of each other. And I'm the one that's basically niching down and saying, how can I help solve your most important problem? I'm a small business owner committed to the community. And I can help you with my photography, right? But I would help them if I was a CPA. I would use this mentality no matter what small business owner I was. So you have to have your vision of what your business looks like, right? Each of you have a different business. You get to pick what it looks like. You have to have your vision, right? So this is homework again. If you need help in this, this is where we can sit down on a Zoom call and you would hear me basically say, okay, what are the, again, Alan, what are you going to have for dinner? He's going to say, well, I could have salmon. I like chicken. The refrigerator's pretty empty right now, but we know Alan won't eat tonight. So whenever you can't figure out what to do, just go, well, I know Alan had dinner. I can figure this out too. So here are 3 things that are important to me. We have 4 minutes, I think. Yeah. So what if this was true? What if everything that we learned today is true? What if, right? You can not do any of this, but what if it was true? What if you could use your marketing to align with the people you actually want to serve with your goods and services instead of spending all of your time looking for people who want your goods and services? What if it's true, everything, right? What will you do with that? That's where I work better with less. It's really important to me. You may be heard I like golf, right? So working smart, strategically, is important to me. What will I do with it? I will be able to go on vacations. I'll be able to come teach. I'll be able to play golf. I do a lot with it because of the fact that it is true. And then how much? Not only how much will I make, how much time will it save me, right? So I ask myself those questions if I'm stuck. And they're just some priming things to kind of look at, am I on the right track or not? If I were to say, if it is true, but it doesn't move my needle, I probably won't do it. I have to kind of have some things to gauge it by. I mentioned I'm not a runner. I don't run 10Ks, but I'm always in search of extra 10Ks. And the extra 10K is doing exactly that 7:30-90. Starts with intent, right? You will have obstacles. The good news is you committed to the industry, your skills, and your grit, right? So you have a plan. It's not important that I know your plan. It's that you have a plan. You have a vision, right? You have the ability to create your vision. And then you have to have a high bias towards action, right? When that bride comes out of the elevator, take the shot. When you hear the giggle, turn around and take the image. When you have a marketing idea, try and implement it in 7 days. There's so many good ideas in this world, and those that actually implement versus those that go, that was a good idea. I've had lots of good ideas that I haven't implemented, right? I want to get much better at implementing my ideas. That's one of my cravings. 7:30-90 is really the key. 7 in the next 7 days. You wrote down notes. I challenged you at the very beginning. Don't write it down unless you intend to do something with it. So then the question would be, are you willing to delete everything you wrote down today? Probably not. I think there's some good nuggets in there. So then in the next 7 days, look at this, figure it out, message me. We'll work through the 30-90 together, right? So that you get momentum, and then you won't need me anymore, right? You can message me here also, mitportraits.com/insider. This is what you can do for me. You can tell me what you liked about today. Tell me how I can improve this. And tell me what you want me to teach next time I'm here. So as a competition judge, not only do you give, here's information, but people want critiques. As a speaker, I need critiques from you, right? So then from a marketing standpoint, the subtle little trick I did at the end is, what do you want to know next time I come back? So you'll all tell me what you want next time. And then when there's somebody else maybe putting the programs together, I can say, I had such a good time last time, and here's what they learned, and here's what they said they want to learn next time. That's the way I actually get back here. I help you, and I help solve a future problem that you're already telling me about. Do that with your customers too. We're going to do that family portrait on the beach in the living room. And then next session's going to be the headshots in the hallway. Always be saying, I can help you with a future thing too. Then you're aligned with one group of people, right? So staying in that family versus trying to look for new families. Okay? So that's a way, not only do we work together, but it's a way that you can blueprint that to work together with your families. And then how will you use this? I want you to reach down and teach somebody else, right? So I want you in this room to be so successful with this that the people who aren't here go, oh, I should have been here. That's the way PPI actually grows too. So some of this is on you to be so wildly successful with what you learn that everybody else goes, I want to be like them, more like them. And if you reach down and help them, you will learn it better yourself by teaching it. And then they'll get closer to you. And then because you have grit, you'll go to the next level. And just keep pulling people up the hill, right? Is kind of one of the things I want you to know. So that's the marketing riddle, right? There's a lot of thinking in it. There's a lot of homework. Even in this room, we have all the answers. Message me in the next 7 days. We'll work on it together and solve your marketing. And I went 2 minutes over, I'm sorry.
Walk around the stars and convince ourselves that they are all ours. I miss the way my heart felt lighter by your side. You walked in the same way tonight, and all it took was one touch